Good evening and welcome to episode 26. And, we're here today at stage 501 with quite an interesting stream for you. We're testing out some new stream assets as well as we've got three guests with us. So we're just going to introduce them in order and then we're going to sort of leap in to the topics that we have today, some of which are extremely interesting, others of which are kind of funny, and some others who you'll be thinking to yourself, what on earth are we talking about? So we'll just deal with the introductions first. So obviously, I'm Ray Murasame, your host. You all already know my biography, so I don't need to introduce myself. I'll just ask Chris to introduce himself first, again.
Hi, yeah, I'm Chris. I'm just your hodgepodge, secular stoic, anarcho-sockdem, libertarian, federalist, utilitarian, humanitarian, syndicalist.
What?
Hey, well done.
I love you.
All right, Hara, you're next, I guess.
Oh, right. Yeah, that's right. You know me. I'm like a mental health advocate, and I love, not shutting my mouth and stuff. Antifa forever. That's me.
Okay. And we've also got Catboy Romeo with us today as well.
Hello. I can't really top any of the other introductions on this panel, but I hope I can bring some good bands.
Yeah, that's good to hear. So, right, you all should be seeing now that we have a thing that actually shows what topic we're talking about, which makes it easier to see through the video when we're done. So right now it should be saying like introduction on the left-hand side of the screen. So we're just going to change it to like whatever the first topic is, and then we're just going to jump into that, and we'll see where we end up. So give me 1 second. Yeah. So we want to start with something that actually happened not this week, but the week before. So I'm sure everyone remembers when Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez was grilling the Facebook CEO about what he planned to do about people spreading misinformation on the platform, in which basically the entire platform has become this kind of like weird echo chamber in which right-wing boomers go to get their prejudices reconfirmed to them over and over again. And no one actually ever learns anything because there's nothing but lies being told in various contexts by bad actors. And the Facebook CEO, Zuckerberg, was kind of like, yeah, but they're allowed to lie. So, I mean, how do you guys feel about this? Like, what is the responsibility of social media companies to actually ensure that lies and fables are not being told continually on their platforms?
Oh my god.
I know it sounds kind of
Chris, you
funny when I
start.
phrase it as lies and fables, right? But there you are. I mean, that's basically what's going on.
I'm sure you got an opinion on this. You start.
Yeah, I
'cause
mean, Chris has probably got quite a lot to say on this.
Yeah, well, I mean, as evidenced by Myanmar, where I have not got a chance to see if they have more than 3 moderators, but last I heard they had only 3 moderators for the entire country of Myanmar, which anyone who's followed the news knows that the Rohingya people are pretty much being genocided, and so, there's other ethnic tensions there, and so when you have misinformation about that, that tragedy going on, it really would be nice to have more than 3 moderators who can go and say, hey, this is not real. This is not something that we should have on our platform. So, yeah, I think there is a responsibility to be had. If you're going to make the decision to moderate your platform, then you should moderate it. And if you're going to moderate, have more than 3 for a country of I don't know how many millions of people.
Pretty sure Zuckerberg, if I remember correctly, had some kind of like censorship company or something that's been known and linked to like white supremacists and stuff. I don't know if anyone else has heard about this, but I found that pretty funny. Like his literal everything that filters out, what's bad and what's good is like literal basically Nazis. Some fucking funded, I don't even know, organization. I'd have to look it up.
Look, he sat down and had meetings with people who ordinarily you would not expect those meetings to occur with them. I mean, I think one of the things that Cortez asked that was really pertinent to Zuckerberg on this issue was, what does he consider to be independent assessors of the content that's being posted onto Facebook, right? And his kind of like weird way of like sort of squirming out of this issue was to say that it's technically none of it is somehow his fault because he's outsourced it to an independent contractor who takes a look at these things. And so if the independent contractor happens to have white supremacists operating part of it, or has like, the Daily Caller somehow being involved in deciding what is not a fact, then it's not really his fault that it turned out that way. And it seems to be his argument, which was absolutely bizarre.
Yeah, that pretty much sums it up pretty well. I mean, he doesn't want the responsibility. He created this platform. Well, I say created. He really stole it, but that's another story. But basically, he has this platform that has a large reach, and he does not want to be responsible with it at all. To quote Jeff Goldblum from Jurassic Park, it's like a kid who found his dad's gun. That's basically what this is like.
Yeah, I freaking found it. This was what Cortez was also asking him about. Where is it? Favored by his company, blah, blah, blah. Literally, oh my god. I can't even read. My eyes are like going everywhere. Conservatives, right? I'm just gonna link this to Ray, because you know what? People would rather listen to a British accent anyways, I think.
What, really? Don't send it in this platform. Send it to me on Discord.
Way ahead of you.
But yeah, everyone likes a British person talking. That's why there's a lot of right-wingers who just happen to be British, because their soothing voices trick people into becoming Nazis.
Amazing. No, it's a really productive accent to have. Although, to be fair, my accent in the eyes of actual British people, they don't actually see it as British at all. They still see it as something foreign.
Sounds like elitism.
Well,
yeah,
no,
don't they also see Irish as foreign?
Usually, if you have an accent, it's actually localizable to a specific region. Whereas if you've been in too many places, then you just have like what's called North Atlantic English. So I think that what I speak is allegedly just North Atlantic English. They can't place it to a specific location.
Oh well.
Yeah.
But I still think that's a little elitist.
Yeah, it is. It's elitist.
Well, I mean, to be fair to them,
the damn British
would be able to identify like who is really from there versus like who showed up. By accent.
Yeah, but I don't know. I think everyone should be like that comedian that lives in France. He's British, but he's like Irish, but he's British Irish. But he lives in France, so he sometimes will talk with a French accent because he can. I forget his name.
That is pretty funny. Okay, so in order to help our viewers, what I'll try to do then is I'll see if we can do a bit of a screen share and let this thing work. So obviously we did some tests on this last time, and I'm sure we all recall that things did not go quite as planned. This time around, we'll actually do it properly. So first thing I need to do is I need to clear away all of our decorations. So hopefully that worked. We should be now seeing just like no decorations around the screen. Am I right?
I don't know. I'm checking.
Yeah, hopefully people in the chat can see that there's not.
I just like to say as well that when I say elitism, I am also, by the way, your decorations and shit are working. I'm not talking about
now because I've cleared them away.
Yeah, they're gone. Is what I'm saying. But
okay,
when I say elitism, I mean like people who are putting themselves above others in terms of petty stuff like accents, for example, to make themselves feel superior. And I wasn't talking about some kind of political movement that is called elitism or something, because I'm unaware of it. Just so you know.
Oh, yeah, quite obviously. Okay, so we should be having like window share appearing on screen. It should actually be visible and it should not be like broken up or anything like this. So you've given me the article from The Independent. Zuckerberg stumbles over AOC's questions about white supremacy during Congress hearing. So Facebook CEO appeared in Washington to discuss cryptocurrency but faced a range of questions. So this is from 23rd of October 2019, which is quite a long time ago. So I'll just read through it and then we'll see.
Still relevant. She
how
brought
long.
it back up not too long ago in her last whatever with him. When was that? Like a week ago or something?
Yeah. So
2
basically,
weeks ago.
Yeah. Yeah, so she brought it up again, but this is what I was referencing.
Yeah. So basically, we'll see how long I can read this before I begin bursting out into laughter. And we'll see where we end up. So I've obviously told the thing now that we're just showing just the screen. If you guys talk, you can still be heard by the others anyway. So
We can see
Mark
it. Don't
Zuckerberg
worry.
appeared to stumble when confronted with tough questioning by Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who asked the Facebook CEO if a right-wing news outlet known for its ties to white supremacist groups is an appropriate fact-checking group to help oversee the social media giant's content. Ms. Ocasio-Cortez confronted Mr. Zuckerberg during congressional testimony on Wednesday, where the CEO was due to discuss a cryptocurrency favored by his company, but the Democrat instead chose to grill him about Facebook's decision not to fact-check political advertisements, even in cases where messages posted by politicians are clearly wrong. She also asked about Mr. Zuckerberg's previous admission that he dines regularly with conservatives and right-wing personalities, which he said is part of his strategy to ensure he hears a diverse set of opinions. Quote, can you explain why you have named the Daily Caller, a publication well documented with ties to white supremacists, as an official fact checker for Facebook? Ms. Ocasio-Cortez asked. Do you like my sort of imitation of Ocasio-Cortez's intonation, by the way? I can imitate her almost perfectly on that. Anyway, we go on. That's kind of creepy. Mr. Zuckerberg replied that Facebook does not itself appoint fact checkers on its platform and instead relies on the International Fact Checking Network, IFCN, a fact checking organization established by the journalism integrity group Poynter. You would say that white supremacist tied publications meet a rigorous standard for fact checking? Ms. Ocasio-Cortez responded. Scrolling. At this point, Mr. Zuckerberg turned his head away and stared ahead for a moment, appearing to look for some form of guidance. Yeah, he must have been absolutely I'm telling you, I love how Ocasio-Cortez asks these questions to these, these people who think that they usually should not be questioned, and they start just like looking to God for help. Cortez has come. But anyway, we go on. He then responded, Congresswoman, I would say that we're not the ones assessing the standard. The International Fact Checking Network is the one setting that standard. The Independents reached out to IFCN for comments and clarification. During her 5 minutes, Ms. Ocasio-Cortez also grilled the Facebook CEO on his company's recent declaration that politicians who post political ads with lies would not be fact-checked. That decision prompted outrage among politicians, including by leading Democratic presidential contender Elizabeth Warren, who responded by having her campaign post an intentionally false advert to prove the point. Ms. Warren has notably called for the breakup of big tech companies like Facebook. Quote, could I pay to target predominantly black zip codes and pay to advertise to them the incorrect election date? Ms. Ocasio-Cortez said. No, Congresswoman, you couldn't, Mr. Zuckerberg replied, before beginning an explanation about newsworthiness that Ms. Ocasio-Cortez cut short. But you said you're not going to fact-check my ads, she replied. If anyone, including a politician, is saying things that can cause, that is calling for violence or could risk imminent physical harm or voter or census suppression, we will take the content down, he said. She responded by saying that there are then certain circumstances. Could I run ads targeting Republicans in primaries saying that they voted for the Green New Deal, she then asked. Mr. Zuckerberg then said he doesn't know the answer off the top of my head, quote unquote, but he thinks that she could, quote, probably run those adverts. What an astonishing self-own. Like, I mean, the amount of self-ownage that Mark Zuckerberg was engaged in there, you'd almost think that he should be working for the Rand Institute or something. He's just going full Ayn Rand
pretty
here.
much.
Self-ownership is the principle we're engaged in here. We just own ourselves every day.
Yeah,
Okay.
well, I mean, he got grilled pretty bad by everyone there.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, Cortez just did it the most poetically, especially because his responses were always just like,
Yeah.
The woman from California did a pretty good job too. I forget her name, but the woman who wore the Batman costume to work on Halloween, she did a pretty good job too. I forget her name and I forget what she asked, but I know she did good also.
And you know what? If I friggin' remember correctly, if you create a website, depending what country you're from, in particular this is America, right? You have to abide by certain laws and stuff, and he has a lot of responsibilities. And because of his freedoms, he's ditching a lot of those responsibilities, which is why he's being brought up for testimony in the first place. Like, if you think Zuckerberg did nothing wrong by aiding literally one side and aiding lies on one side and then silencing another, then I don't know what to say, because he's not fucking innocent. He started Facebook to stalk women at his campus. I don't know what else to say. He's like,
Yeah,
don't
it's
fucking stand
absolutely,
this man.
it's
Yeah,
absolutely.
and he ripped off those two
disgusting.
twins. Don't forget that. He ripped off those two twins. I forget their names.
My name is Zuckerberg. I cannot compute the question. Please repeat.
He actually did look like a robot more than one time. He literally had that kind of Terminator stare. Where
I don't know. You
just tell he
have
was
to be
mentally
careful
processing.
with these jokes, because I believe autistic people don't appreciate it, because usually right-wingers make it about Zuckerberg's autism and shit. When it's
I
not,
agree.
it's literally just because he's a...
I didn't even know he was autistic.
Yeah, a lot of people don't, but the ones that do use it as a weapon or whatever.
Oh yeah, yeah. So
Stupid.
I would say certainly do not weaponize that, because that would obviously not be the outcome or the result that we want.
Yeah, autism isn't what makes Zuckerberg a piece of shit. It's just Zuckerberg. That's him.
Exactly.
That's his
He's just a bad person
personality.
on his own
Yeah, the
merit.
choices that
He's
he
one of those
makes are
people
bad.
that just happens to have other conditions, but everything that's bad about him is himself, not the other stuff. The other stuff is just there.
Yeah,
I mean,
pretty much.
it's also entirely possible that Zuckerberg doesn't actually believe he's doing something wrong. He thinks he's being balanced and magnanimous toward everyone, which is also the wrong thing to do. So, I mean, even if we take it on good faith and say that, let's say that Zuckerberg doesn't realize he's doing something bad here, okay?
I
It
think
also,
that's the case. Might be.
yeah, it may indeed be the case, right? And so it could just be that there's a certain naivety that he has toward the populist right, where he doesn't realize that the populist right is not coming at him to have some kind of like sophisticated dialogue. They're coming at him to troll and propagate misinformation on purpose, utilizing his platform to do so. And he doesn't understand this. He thinks he's having a conversation with them when they're not actually conversing with him. They're just like, so how can you facilitate our ridiculous influence operations today? Like, what sequence of words has to be said to get Zuckerberg to do that? That's all they're going in with. That's what I think is happening.
Yeah, I agree
Yeah,
with that. I mean, he's just useful to their cause. So if you know for a fact that if he had a left wing bias, then they would be calling him some sort of Soros puppet or any number of dog whistles that he's a globalist, even though Facebook is literally a global platform.
Honestly, it's not just
basically.
Zuckerberg either. It's fucking Jack too on Twitter, and like it's everywhere. It's like, is it a coincidence or am I a conspiracy theorist? But every time some kind of big social media starts doing this crap, I see a picture of them shaking hands with Trump later on at some point.
Hey, leave Tom out of this.
It's
Tom
almost
is
like
a good guy, and he has not shake Trump's hand, to my knowledge.
Okay, fair, but if we see Jack shaking Trump's hand, I'm gonna lose my shit.
Do we explain that MySpace joke to the kids, or does everyone understand the MySpace joke?
I think
some
of
of
our
them.
audience might be too young to remember what MySpace is.
I know what it is. It's not that old.
I mean,
even if you're very young, you could Google it. It's like the original.
It's like the original social media time wasting zone.
Yeah,
it was
where you
SoundCloud before SoundCloud, because once
basically
Facebook hit the
you'd go
scene,
on
then everyone was using MySpace as SoundCloud.
Oh, you'd go on someone's profile and you were just blasted with music. You had no choice. Like at 5 a.m. and you were sneaking on the computer and your mother was sleeping in the next room. It was not good.
Yeah.
These were dark times, kids. Dark times.
But everyone learned how to do HTML and CSS.
Huh?
Everyone learned how to do HTML and CSS because MySpace gave you that option to go in and modify HTML and CSS yourself. So lots of kids learned that.
I'm telling
And
you, I mean,
now
social
it's
media have
basically
actually produced some
useless.
wonderful things. It's also produced some pretty bad things too. So I'm not one of these anti-social media people. I mean, how could I be? So with that covered, I mean, I think we've kind of done the whole talking about Mark Zuckerberg thing to death. So we should move on to the next topic, and of course, it's the interesting topic. I see someone in the chat has also said that we should talk about groypers. Apparently, we'll do that next, but we have another topic in front first. See, I knew that we actually didn't have
The
something
hell
on
is
the
a
list.
groiper?
Yeah, we'll get
It
to that.
kind of ties in with one of the other stories.
Yeah, it does tie in with one of the other stories. It involves I think it involves the Fuentes thing or something, but we'll get to that. I mean, well, it might even be part of the next story in some sense. So let me just update the topic title, and we can pivot immediately to that, which I think Chris has been absolutely wanting to talk about for ages now. So the topic should now be changed to Jake and Sarah destroy their own platform.
Oh,
Fox News style
yeah,
question mark.
juicy gossip
Suspended at the end.
time.
Now, I want you all to pay very much strict attention to the fact that I have suspended a question mark at the end of what is otherwise a statement. And the reason I've done this is because I've learned something from the way that Fox News operates, which is that technically you're not actually saying bad things about people if you drop a question mark at the end of it. So all of you should see there's a question mark on screen now, and everyone recognizes that. So we don't know if they destroyed their own platform, although we are relatively sure that they totally did. So, Chris, take it away. Explain to us what exactly happened, because it's apparently just 9 hours of stream that they did trying to explain themselves, and you have watched the
Oh my
majority of it
god.
and can basically give us summaries of what the hell happened. However, the warning I'll give you is the way that you describe what happened, do not do it in a way that constitutes personal attacks. Describe it like if you're watching National Geographic.
Oh, I'm gonna do this NPR thing. So
Yeah.
basically, Jake is what we call a Twitch streamer. So he's a person who Twitch streams. He's one half of the Hugo and Jake, formerly known as the Bible Reloaded, and he's got a significant other who occasionally helps him, but really she's only really with him on Twitter. And Sarah, Legend of Phoenix. They are technically a couple, but that's not the important part. The important part is that Jake just did a 9-hour stream trying to explain all the criticisms from his former mod team. Now, his former mod team basically left because they found Jake's content to not align with their particular set of values, and more specifically, they thought that Jake was not being a good guy. Now, I personally am not calling him an asshole, but they all called him an asshole. So again, their words, not mine. And basically, so Jake did this whole 9-hour long stream where he basically was trying to explain why they left. He was trying to explain all the criticisms that people had around his charity stream, because he did in the month of July 31st, he did a trans charity stream, which, while objectively a good thing, was not handled with the utmost care. So there was legitimate criticisms about how he and Sarah put it together, a lot of background stuff. Basically, again, this 9-hour stream is him going through all the different criticisms. And he said
I want to add that a lot of trans people were also investigating this because, they had concerns, because it wouldn't be the first time we've been totally lied to and taken advantage of and not actually helped. People shouldn't be upset that we're asking questions because we're doing it out of the safety for ourselves and everyone else. I don't get it. Just because you think someone's a nice guy doesn't mean they are. That's all I really have to
and there's definitely evidence.
So to be clear, before you go on, it was one of it was a transgender related charity that they said they were donating to. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Correct.
So the money did actually go to a trans charity, and which isn't a good thing. So we're not criticizing him raising money for trans people or giving money to trans people. The issue is
the contention was that they took 50% of it for themselves. Was that what was claimed?
Potentially all of it.
Yeah.
We don't know for sure.
But from what I can tell, they actually did donate the money, which is good, and they did donate the bits. He tried to make one of the criticisms, what about them bits? He tried to make that into a sort of meme. Basically, bits, for anyone who doesn't know, they're kind of like super chats on Twitch. So basically the same as super chats. And so basically there were all these criticisms, and people, started, two mods in particular, Retro Game Queen and Marzi, both wrote up these nice, long, pretty detailed and pretty, well-written documents, basically detailing Jake and Sarah. And then there's one other person, I forget their name, made a video. And Jake's response to that criticism video is, I think, where Jake did a lot of really interesting things. Because while critiquing the video that was critiquing Jake had to react to past things he said. And it was very interesting because Jake, for one thing, didn't seem to remember that he acted very surprised about things that he had debated with Ray. But Ray was not in this video, just so you know. But basically, it's hard to explain, but basically, he did not know that race fetishization is a thing, which I am very shocked by, because he acted genuinely shocked that race fetishization is a thing, and I think, correct me if I'm wrong, right, but
given that he had a 3-hour debate against me in which I explained to him in full what that entire problem entails and how white hegemony encompasses it, and he spent the entire time basically trying to insult me and basically glorying in the destruction that was caused after 1492 in the Americas. So I mean, the impression I got was that he and the alt-right on this particular issue are extremely close in terms of not caring about what happened to other human beings, functionally speaking. Like,
my favorite quote out of that was, "I'm just as indigenous as a Native American."
I mean, that was absolutely mind-blowing. And then, of course, it was shortly after I had asked him, like, what ethnic group does he consider himself to belong to? And he refused to say that he was European, even though, like, baldly speaking, it looks to me as though Jake is European.
Yeah, pretty much. So that was a really interesting thing, watching him respond to this video where he's responding to himself. And he basically said that the racist video that they were talking about, where they were showing sort of some of the problematic things Jake has said, Jake says, "Oh yeah, I stand behind all those things." And what the video was showing is that Jake is A-okay with private racism.
What the hell?
Yeah, no, because basically the idea was, as long as you don't push into the world, it's okay to be racist.
And so they paid that back to him, and he actually doubled down on that position?
Yes, he did.
So basically, this is almost like Destiny level nonsense then.
Oh yeah, no, but I think it's worse though, because at least Destiny admitted that, hey, this might be bad, but I don't care. Jake was saying, oh, it's not bad at all.
Wow. So that actually makes him like more egregious than what Destiny did.
Yeah, because at least to Destiny's credit, at least he was an honest racist.
So I mean, how exactly?
I just want to say,
like, how many people on his team have resigned at this point?
Well, basically, it was originally so he lost his entire Twitch and YouTube mod team. They have all since been replaced by people. So it's hard to say how many people he lost. He lost his old mod team, but he has a new mod team.
Okay.
So, Jake and Sarah were one of the many. Shut up, Ray. Jake and Sarah were one of the many people who were attacking Ray and accusing her of being some white genocide ethno-nationalist or something.
It was the most bizarre series of criticisms ever. But apparently, I've been told it follows some kind of pattern where they do this to a lot of people who raise issues that they don't want to actually touch on because it inconveniences them in some way.
Oh, yeah, that's a great segue to my next point.
Yeah, where rather than addressing you head on and saying they don't like you because you said X, they'll instead just make up something that's like almost entirely unrelated and try to accuse you of that instead.
Yeah, the idea is that they want you to go on their stream. Because I thought it was very interesting that numerous times during this whole 9-hour stream, Jake said, just watch the stream. Just watch the stream. And the reason why that's really interesting to say is that most of Jake's streams, like I would estimate the average is probably 3 to 4 hours long for the majority of his streams. Some are probably longer. Obviously, this one was 9 hours. So I think that's a very odd thing to say, go watch a 3-hour stream before you criticize me. It's very interesting.
I want to say that. Sorry, Chris, that's also ableist.
Indeed, it's also
Because
not. It's also completely hypocritical, given he's not open to dialogue in the first place.
Oh yeah, no. Basically, what he does is, and I've seen this because he did this to me, is he will insult you on Twitter, or he won't say he's insulting, but he'll do something that is pretty clearly trying to egg you on, kind of like a playground bully type thing, where you try to push somebody to do something bad, So he does that on Twitter, and he does that to get you on his stream, because on his stream he has this sort of persona that he's this calm, rational guy, which really is itself just a front, because obviously his actual behavior and the way he frames things is really disingenuous, because once you're off stream, he'll say, oh, they're a white nationalist. Because if I remember correctly, I think Jake gave the appearance that you guys were leaving on not terrible terms, if I recall. But Jake still has no problems calling you a white nationalist or ethno-nationalist, Somebody who wants to white genocide. So it's very interesting that he does that. The whole, we're going to be friendly and nice and polite, but then as soon as you're gone, oh, wow, can you believe that ethno-nationalist, or can you believe those critics? Very, very interesting.
Honestly,
what he does.
If Ray wanted to kill all whites, I don't know why she hasn't killed me yet, because I'm pretty annoying. I don't know what to say.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's a completely ridiculous accusation. There's obviously no merit to this ridiculous claim that they made in the first place. And also, I mean, they don't want to admit it, but their claim is literally identical to the kind of behavior that we see from like people like Bob Whitaker, and David Duke and other like weird white nationalists, basically, where as soon as you present to them an issue that involves Native Americans and or let's say indigenous peoples at large, they will instantly fall back onto a persecution complex.
Oh,
That's
yeah, without a doubt.
They fall back onto a persecution complex and say that, oh no, poor Europeans are now being discriminated against because you said that they should return stolen assets to people who they've done things to in the Americas. Like, I mean, to me, this is a completely ridiculous set of talking points that they brought against me, and they weren't even courageous enough to actually own them, because instead of actually saying that they don't like me because I advocate for indigenous rights, instead they went with the more vague wording, which is that they don't like me because something ethno-nationalism. The reason they don't want to actually say the word indigenous rights when they're criticizing me is because then everyone will be completely aware of the fact that the reason they're upset with me is because I stand for indigenous people.
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
Literally, and so many impressionable leftists fall for this shit, and they don't realize it's literal Nazi rhetoric.
Exactly.
Oh yeah, no. And another thing they do is they
literally use Nazi rhetoric against me, and then basically expect that it's going to work.
Oh yeah, no. And another thing they do is they'll accept some of the criticisms, like some of the softball criticisms, the things that are really light, like maybe we should have done more planning, something like that. They'll say, yeah, that's a fair criticism. But it's funny that he'll say that
sounds
on
like
stream.
White sensitivity.
Oh yeah, no, but it's funny that he'll say that, yeah, maybe we should have done more planning.
It's called soft peddling. What Jake did in his 3-hour stream with me is he literally just soft peddled indigenous rights. So every time I would say to him that, like, do you agree that bad things happened and that these things were great injustices and perhaps even war crimes, right? Then he will say, yes, bad things happened. And then I said, okay, do you support delivering justice in the sense of, rehabilitative justice by basically, re-empowering indigenous peoples to actually control their own destinies now? Then he's like, no, and he needs to use squidding to accuse me of various horrendous things in order to detract from that topic. Because they never want to actually do anything about it. It's all about the signal. They want to send out the virtue signal of, oh, I'm a good person. And then when I say, okay, let's translate that into some actual policy action in which you agree to at least give up a little bit of your privilege in order to allow the indigenous peoples, those who are left and who remain, to actually have a life for themselves. Then it's suddenly like, no, we can't have the conversation anymore. They instantly back out.
Yeah, and that's pretty much what he did for 9 hours.
And they still have the nerve and the gall to claim to be part of the left while doing this.
Oh yeah, no. They basically they have actually, they're the kind of people that have actually bought into Shuonhead's quote unquote transformation. The one that anyone who's actually followed her career can tell you is not a change. It's basically kind of what you said, a soft backpedal, where she kind of has changed some of her behavior, but she still has all the same beliefs. She just makes it a little bit more palatable.
It's very similar to what we're seeing with some of the sort of well, you talked to me about this in Discord earlier on as well, where you were talking about how there are some people who arrived at being sort of leftist content creators from having held positions which were, you know, radically different prior.
Yeah,
And then they
and
kind
I
of
think
recreated the same structures within the organizations, within the internet organizations they went on to found.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. I mean, I think, you know, obviously Shuon Head is a great example of that, but you can also look at somebody like Peter Coffin, who I did not know about this before, but he actually has. There is a decent amount of right wing content where he is saying some pretty horrifically bad things, and to my knowledge, he has never apologized for any of this stuff, or if he has apologized, it's been in the most milquetoast way where he's not telling you how bad the stuff was. Like, it is the kind of, like, it is like almost Nick Fuentes level of ableism, like where he was, it was really, really, like, I don't even know how to describe it, you know.
I didn't
Obviously, I
know
don't want
about
to.
this.
Oh yeah,
Wow.
no, yeah, yeah. I shared it on the Discord, Catboy Romeo, so you can actually you listen to it. You know, it's really
Okay, thanks.
he really does not like autistic people. Is the gist I got from him. So yeah, so I think a lot of these people, you know, with people seeing that, oh, Ben Shapiro isn't cool anymore, you know, we gotta find somebody who can rip Ben Shapiro
He
apart.
was cool.
No, I don't think he was cool. His nickname was the cool kid's philosopher. That's why I'm calling him cool.
No, it's just funny that some people friggin', oh my god, they think he's cool for real. It just makes me
Well, it's because
laugh.
they saw him beat a college leftist in a highly structured event that was designed to make Ben Shapiro look good. I mean, come on, Hart. If you're
I
a
just don't know
college student
how he could
and you get
ever
ambushed, you
look.
gotta be ready. Like, I mean, you know, why are those college students
I don't
who are going
know.
to
I'm
class?
a fucking Viking. If Ben Shapiro approached me randomly out of the wilderness and I never knew him before and he
Don't
started
say
saying the
it.
shit he says,
Don't
I
say
would
anything
just
bad
like hug him so much.
in Minecraft. So
Yeah, but that's basically the thing, though. Is like, so people saw that, you know, they saw the Ben Shapiro grift, they saw people destroy him, and I think that's why a lot of reactionaries decided, hey, maybe I should become more left, you know, rather than, and they become left without actually becoming left. They just want the aesthetic of being left, you know.
yes,
It should
that's
come as no
what I was
surprise.
looking for. They're doing this whole left aesthetic thing for clout, because then you get to dunk on like conservatives and look cool. But then when it comes down to like what do you actually support, then it's suddenly like, well, who knows, right?
Yeah, I mean, it
As
should come as no surprise
Antifa,
that a lot
half
of
of
Bernie
them are
supporters are
trolling.
like reactionaries, and Bernie's a
Literally,
good guy,
it's
but
knowledge that half of these people who claim to be liberal, centrist, and blah blah blah, which are usually not inherently evil political positions to have, but are using them to basically infiltrate and make the left, quote unquote, look bad. So, like, half of them
Or
probably are bots
Or they do
as
the or they
well.
do or they
So,
do the even worse thing, which is where you have someone who consistently poses around claiming to be on the left, and then like every time they run into an argument with like, you know, the far right or whatever, they're like, yeah, how can I just roll over you right now and just say my colleagues are bad and you guys have a good point. That's basically what they do consistently.
are you talking
I
about the Carl
usually
Benjamin?
It's like Dave Rubin.
That's what we call a Carl Benjamin Ray.
Tim
That's
Pool.
what
It's
Carl Benjamin
the
likes
Carl
to do.
Benjamin or the Dave Rubin. And speaking of which, I'm sure we have a Dave Rubin story here actually. So where should I do? Yeah, no, we can do that now because it was later on down the list. But I'm just going to quickly jump to the Dave Rubin thing, and then we can go back to where we were. Okay. So hold on,
Okay.
I'll show you a wonderful example of this, and then we'll talk about it because I know you guys actually watched when this went down, and everyone remembers how it went down. So hold on. Right, so Dave Rubin's next level grifting is what we should be doing now, and I'll just see if I can do a screen share on that.
oh, are we changing topics?
Yeah, but then we're gonna jump back.
Okay, but I want a smoke break soon.
Yeah, it's no problem. After half an hour, we take a like be right back break for like 5 minutes, and then we come back and resume from where we left off. We're doing it professionally now, you see. So,
I know, and it's been half an hour.
yeah. So okay, after we've done this part, we'll take a break, and then we'll come back and we'll pick up from where we left off on the Jake and Sarah thing. So hold on. I'll just do a share and application window. Yeah. Right. So let me just make sure that it is displayed. There we go. So we can see here on screen, Cenk Uygur is saying that, of course, the soulless Rubin report went on to Tucker Carlson to blame California fires on liberals and diversity hiring. Wow. So black firefighters are why we had the fires, not climate change? But they also mentioned LGBT hires, and that's why Dave was brought on to betray his own wow. Now, of course, Cenk has it completely correct here. Like, I don't know if the rest of you actually watched this sequence as it played out. All that happened was, and I'll explain it to you in the least incendiary way possible. But basically, it's like this. Tucker Carlson runs his show, and he does this thing where he'll sort of talk into the microphone, and what he does is he leans in so that he gets this proximity effect. I'm not sure if you guys are hearing the same proximity effect right now, where you get closer to the mic, and so the bottom end of the mic starts to sound louder, and the top end not so much.
I don't know what you're talking about. I'm partially deaf.
But anyway, yeah. So anyway, you lean in, you get the proximity effect by just raising the volume and then having like oversaturation kind of like sound, right? So you get that effect and you look directly into the camera and you basically just like enunciate right-wing talking points, and then you furrow your brow as though you're thinking, although you're really not thinking anything at all. And then you look like pseudo confused and very dismayed, and then blame everything on the left. Like, regardless, like whatever story it is, just blame it on diversity. That's their position. So Tucker Carlson is doing this thing on what happened with PNG in California. Now, here's the real facts. The real fact is that PNG was supposed to be maintaining their infrastructure, but they chose not to actually spend sufficient money on maintaining that infrastructure, and so their faulty power infrastructure was causing various wildfires around that state. It got to the point where the judges who are now dealing with the wind-up of PNG because of its financial troubles are now actually asking the question as to like how much of the fires might PNG actually be responsible for, given that we know they're responsible for one of them, but what about all the ones previously where just random wildfires appeared? Could any of them have also been PNG too, given that they were not maintaining their equipment correctly? So now you'd think that that would be an open and shut case, because then you could just say, okay, well, soulless billionaires are engaged in paying themselves but not maintaining their own infrastructure. That would be an interesting story. But it's Fox News, so they can't run it that way, because of course, no matter what happens, Fox News cannot criticize the structural power of capitalist operations. It literally won't happen, right? Not ever. Like literally,
The gays are burning the Amazon right now.
I mean,
you all know, you have no idea.
I mean, that's the argument they would prefer to go with, rather than actually ascribing it to who's responsible. So same thing with California. So how does Rubin play into this? So of course, Dave Rubin is a centrist, quote unquote, political commentator who, anytime he is asked to appear on a show that the right is hosting, he will appear on their shows and they will say things to him and he will agree with everything, because that's what he does. So with that in mind, Dave Rubin appears on Tucker Carlson's show. And again, I should emphasize, we're not even blaming Rubin per se, because you can't even say that Rubin has like autonomy in this case. Like he doesn't even have agency. It's kind of like you have a handkerchief and you have a cold and you just blow your nose into the handkerchief and it just basically just takes that nose blowing and it just has it. That's the kind of agency that Dave Rubin has. Like he might as well just be the handkerchief, and Tucker Carlson is blowing his nose. Okay, so Tucker Carlson comes in and asks Rubin, what do you think is responsible for this whole wildfires thing? And Rubin responds by immediately blaming diversity, by making some ridiculous exclamation about how, supposedly, according to him, PNG can keep track of all of its diversity figures but can't keep track of its own infrastructure. Like, I mean, there's no story anywhere that supports that this is why. There's no story anywhere that has anything to do with gay people being firefighters and this somehow leading to fires. Like, there is no proof of any of this, okay? But Dave Rubin, being a person who professes to be gay himself and who is married himself, he will always be that fall guy kind of person who will say that since he is that particular thing, he couldn't possibly be homophobic, even though he's supporting openly homophobic talking points on international television. And that's why everyone kind of got mad with him, because he does this all the time. He does it all the time.
Oh yeah,
Which is
remember Ben Shapiro, where where he was inviting Ben Shapiro to his wedding or something like that. It was a cookout, and basically Ben Shapiro said, "I will go to the cookout if it's a cookout, but if it's a celebration of you being gay or being married as a gay, I will not go." And
amazing.
Dave Rubin, rather than say, "Hey, that's not cool," he's like, "That's fair. Yeah, we'll have a cookout, just a regular cookout." And it's like he does it all the time. Like Ben Shapiro was literally homophobic, saying, "I don't recognize your marriage," in front of Dave Rubin, and Dave Rubin was just like, "Okay, that's cool. We're still friends. We're awesome friends." He didn't say awesome friends, but that's basically the vibe he was giving off.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing. And so, I mean, what can you even say?
Dave Rubin is spineless and doesn't actually, know what he believes and just believe whatever the right wing tells him.
The world is
Absolutely. No,
burning, the
every single
boomers
time.
control everything, and we're all going to die.
Like, I mean,
That's
really.
right. I want
That,
mournful silence.
no, I mean, this is how it operates. Every single thing that they say to him, he just rolls over and just lets it happen. So, with that said, though, we've covered that topic. I don't think we need to cover anything about Dave Rubin beyond that. Although, speaking of which, let me just hover on his name there. So, do you notice how when I'm hovering on Rubin report there, you notice that I actually can't see what his bio says? The reason for this is because Dave Rubin has blocked me. Now, I've been wanting to say on the stream for a long time the reason why Dave Rubin has blocked me. Okay, and everyone is within their right to block people they don't like. Like Dave Rubin specifically does not like me, so he can choose to block me. That's within his freedom of action in a world in which human beings are free to act. I know. So
You
I'm not
think
saying
people are allowed to be free with their choices of who they talk to?
I know, right? It's absolutely
Holy,
incredible.
that is fucking radical!
Absolutely incredible. So, Dave Rubin. Now, the reason he has blocked me is because I said to him, possibly 2 years ago, I asked him something like, what is your source of funding? Because from what I'm looking at, it would appear to me as though Dave Rubin is being sort of indirectly financed by the Koch brothers and possibly the Heritage Foundation. And his response to me was to immediately block me.
Yeah, that sounds about right. And
Which I thought was
now
quite
he's
interesting because that's kind of like an admission of some kind of guilt, isn't it? If I just if I just walk up to you and I'm like, here's some receipts, I think you might be funded by a thing you claim you're not funded by. Do you have a comment on this? I mean, maybe I could be wrong. And then your response is, I gotta block you. Then I would think that
oh
maybe
yeah,
I'm
no,
onto
he's
something.
even more liberal with his pun intended with the liberal. He's even more liberal with the block these days because now he has made no secret about who funds him because he is now funded directly by the Blaze, which is owned and operated by Glenn Beck, who is a right wing evangelical Christian kind of guy. He basically wants like a Christian state in
Absolutely
America.
surreal.
Yeah, he's that kind of radical right wing person.
Absolutely
And
surreal.
so, yeah, pretty much. And Dave still, even though it's clearly obvious that he is really he'll let himself be introduced as working for the Blaze, he'll still sort of maintain that I'm a centrist, which is really bizarre because anyone who knows about the Blaze knows they're not centrist. They're really far right.
Yes.
I really wish
So,
Dave would debate Sam Cedar though. But
So with all of that said, I think we can go on to the break now. I'm assuming the stream health is still good and we haven't been making any egregious mistakes in how we've operated it so far. So we'll just take a 5-minute break. And to top up the alcohol for Harry to have a
Yes!
smoke. Which he's been wanting to do for quite a while. And we'll see where we end up. So we'll be back in 5 minutes. I can't believe
But
that none of the viewers actually pointed that out either. Like, why does it say it's a freaking test?
yeah, but I don't know. I maybe I've watched too many breadcasts, but every breadcast there's something that goes wrong, and they don't even notice, and I don't notice, and then somebody randomly notices later.
It's
And we're back. So we should be resuming the topic of Jake and Sarah's self-destructive activities that we were talking about before. We took a little bit of a slight detour to talk about Dave Rubin's nonsensical behavior on Tucker Carlson's show, but we're bouncing back to Jake and Sarah just briefly before we move on.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask Chris, because I'm pretty sure he knows this, but isn't Jake a mutual with a sex offender? Didn't you mention that once?
What? Vosh?
No, yeah, Jake.
Yeah, no, I mean, Jake is a mutual with Bosch, if that's who you're referring to.
I don't know. I think you told me one time there was a mutual of his that was pretty sketchy, and he's still.
Oh! You're talking about the person that people always attribute to me. Long story short, people in Jake's community always attribute this one profile to me, and that one profile just happens to still be in Jake's audience, which is really odd. Weird that every time, Jake calls me gross, or a fan of Jake calls me gross, they always say, aren't you this profile? No, I am not that profile. And also that profile is still in Jake's community, so clearly he doesn't actually care.
Can you tell us about that profile, though?
I mean, as far as I understand it, they're a really creepy profile that, one, really want Jake and Sarah to notice them, and two, if they find out that you're female, they will really try to harass you and just try to, they'll try to do the cliche internet thing where they really try to, to bond with you in really sketchy, not healthy ways. You know what I'm talking about, Har? Those types of people. He really, kind of like what Vosh did to Poppy. Kind of like that is the kind of stuff that I understand them doing. So it's odd. It makes you go, why are they in your audience?
Why are certain creeps acceptable but others are not? Is what
exactly.
And even if you were a creep, which you're not, because apparently you were allegedly creeping women in a sexual harassment manner in the DMs, and I went through all your DMs.
Yeah, no, they're pretty clean. And even the former mod team that left can also vouch. Yeah, we have no issues with you.
Yeah.
Other than me being annoying. I will say this. I was annoying. Okay, I was annoying in the chat, but I was
annoying doesn't equate to sexual predator.
And I will say the annoying stuff I did was I said random facts. I used to say random,
Ray, if a guy like Chris randomly popped into your gaming stream and he was just like, I know a really good way how to get all the Spyro crystals, would you hate him and think he's a sexual, predator?
No, that would be completely ridiculous.
That is what they did.
Yeah, that's literally what they did. Or at least Jake and Sarah.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of those things where the disingenuousness is just off the charts.
Yeah, pretty much. And they still, and for some reason, they don't want to correct it to their community. They had, basically, like I said, it goes into what I said Jake likes to do, because the way Jake would have gotten me to not have that label is if I went on his stream, because I think he really wanted me to go on his stream to confront him about that. He said, if you want me to fix that, you got to come on stream and we'll talk about it.
Nah, he just wanted to trap you. He wanted the audience to dogpile you.
Exactly, which they had actually done, which they'd actually already done 2 weeks prior when I was actually expressing what I consider to be a genuine criticism.
And then I was dogpiled. Holy shit. Because, I kind of have, a thing for documentation when it comes to serious shit. So I don't know about anyone else, but a tiny screenshot of an address and an organization, and even if you write 501 or whatever on it, it's not going to be sufficient evidence for any kind of lawyer or judge or cop or whatever. It's not. They'll be asking you for real paperwork on that if, say, he was to be investigated, which he won't be, because this shit happens all the fucking time.
But I will say he did get suspiciously close to threatening Marzi, which I believe I forget what it's called when you threaten like illegitimate legal action against somebody. I forget what that's called.
Slap.
But like what?
Slap.
No, it's not.
Pretty
quite
sure
slap.
it's not
Because-
illegal.
No,
because
there are
slap
laws
is where you
against
do a
that,
lawsuit.
to like
Slap is a
threaten
lawsuit,
suits
but
to silence someone. They're called
What?
anti-slap laws.
yeah, okay, maybe
Okay.
he was
What?
maybe
This
he
must
was
be a
doing
states
slap.
thing, or
Maybe he
I'm
was doing slap.
missing
Yeah, I
something
think he
in Canada.
yeah.
Is that
Yeah.
what happened in the stream, by the way? Did they basically try
He
to
got
like?
very close to doing that to one of the former mods. He did just good enough to not technically do it, but you can really tell he really wanted to, silence him.
Amazing.
And because he kept using language like, "Oh, Marzi, we're gonna see," and he was like really hinting at in a very slap way, and in a way that if you actually watch the stream, there's no denying what his intent was. Technically, he did not say it, so obviously it wouldn't, hold up in court or anything like that. But you can really tell what he was trying to do. He wasn't
I was
subtle
freaking
at
called
all.
a stalker. I was called a stalker, a murderer, and a creep because I asked about the receipts to this trans shit. And I had
Unbelievable.
actual trans people on his side come to me to tell me I'm a piece of garbage, and they asked me if I've ever done donations, and I said yes, actually. I've donated directly to people thousands of dollars, like, who knows, all my life. I don't know what that has to do with anything. So, to retort this, I had trans people trying to guilt me into giving them money immediately as to prove some kind of point, as if I'm not a person
Yeah, I saw
also
a
in
lot of
poverty.
I saw a lot of tweets where they were doing that, where basically people would challenge them on some of the record keeping they've done, and they'll respond by basically not actually answering the question, but being like, "Oh, you better be about to donate immediately then."
Oh yeah, no, and Jake actually showed that
Yeah.
on stream. He actually showed that with one random person. I forget the user, but there's some random user, and he showed that. And the best part is that Sarah actually corrected Jake, but Jake didn't care. He, for some reason, still said, "Yeah, well, this person's a jerk." So it doesn't matter if they were saying that it was wrong to force them to donate because of a criticism or something like that. It's he was showing somebody criticizing him,
It's
and
fucked
then
up,
Jake
and you know
said,
what it is?
It's
It's
absolutely
verbal
mind-bending.
manipulation.
Yes, where basically their claim is that you're not
It's-
allowed to criticize
it's
what they've done with the
gaslighting.
money unless you give them your money first, which is an absolutely insane thing to say.
"Yeah,
I mean,
exactly, it
imagine
was."
Literal abuse.
imagine if a business operated that way. Well, I mean, there are some businesses that actually operate that way. For example, Apple, where you got to buy the MacBook first in order to criticize how bad it actually is. Really? You sure?
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, pretty much.
I mean,
And
basically, Jake is actually acting like the Apple of LeftTube.
oh yeah, no, without a doubt. And I mean, it
He's
should
not
come as
left
no
to me.
surprise
I
that
just
the
don't know.
people who defend him really hard are the people who have baggage, actual baggage, like Peter
Yeah,
Coffin
it's almost like
and
they're
he,
all apologists for abusive behavior, and that's
yeah,
why they
and he
stab
went on
him
his
It's very
so
destiny,
similar
and
hard.
It's very similar to
It-
how Trump sometimes sells his wild plans that he wants to have actualized by Republicans in the House of Representatives and or the Senate, right? He'll come out and be like, "We need to solve this important issue, and if you don't believe that I'm sincere about it, then why aren't you voting for it?"
yeah, and that's pretty much
Literally.
what he did with a lot of people who, and sometimes there were a few times where people would even just criticize him in general, and he actually brought up the stream, and actually that's I think what he did with the random user. They were criticizing about something
well, they were
unrelated
criticizing
to the
him,
stream.
and then he'll say that, well, I'm the donation person or something, right?
Yeah, yeah, where it's like I'm running
Meanwhile,
this.
he'll be
makes sense for you.
benefiting from the taxes like hardcore.
Well, apparently they wouldn't. They wouldn't. Apparently the way the GoFundMe was set up, they would not. But still, the fact that the
Bitch,
fact
I
that
have no
they,
room
We're
left to
asking
fucking
legitimate
give them
questions then.
benefits of any doubts.
I agree. I wholeheartedly agree with that because rather than just answer, "Hey, is this something that could benefit you on taxes?" They have to quote tweet and dogpile you to say, "Hey, no, it's not going to work like that. You're wrong.
Amazing.
You're a jerk for asking that really reasonable question."
So I guess, and the question here is after all this is, where do they go from here? now they've kind of reached this like ridiculous stage of their sort of like, I don't know what you want to call it, social media existence. Like, what is their strategy from here on forward? I mean, they basically admitted
they're going to try to. I think they're going to try to do a
positions.
Bosch thing. I think they're going to try to go down the route of Bosch, is what I'm guessing. They're going to really double down on never apologizing.
But they don't hold the same positions as Vosh, though. Like, for example, Vosh can kind of get away with like never apologizing for anything because at the end of the day, he's still going to go on stream and do that thing where he draws theory stuff on screen and like instructs people on how to take actions in the real world that affect people every day. Whereas I'm not sure that Jake is going to be able to have that kind of charisma to go on the stream and be like, "Today we're going to teach you about how socialism works." Like, does he even do that?
I guess that's fair. It's fair, but I just don't think. Sorry, Chris. I'm getting hyper. You know, like, yes, Bosch has really great points sometimes, but he also has really shitty ones, and I don't care how great your great points are. You're really not free from criticism, and kinda, it's like common decency and respect to all people to kind of fucking acknowledge the consequences of your actions and apologize. I am anti-apology. Hardcore. I will die on that hill.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, I mean, yeah, he won't do the Bosch thing, but they're going to double down on the dunking on conservatives and stuff like that, and eventually that well will dry up, and I don't know what they'll do when that well dries up, because eventually I have a feeling that well is going to dry up. Maybe he'll do the Destiny thing, where maybe he'll debate some leftist people, you know, but I don't know.
It's like where it's like where Liberal Sanity Project ended up going as well. I don't know if
that's actually probably the model for where Jake's going to go. That's actually probably the actual model for where Jake's going to go.
The one where he came out with this ridiculous video where it's like, I don't even know how to describe it. It's one of those videos where he comes out and just decides for like no apparent reason that today he wants to criticize socialism. And of course, the way in which he does this is by immediately claiming that it's identical to being a Nazi. Which is just like, really? Where have we heard this before? Because this is like Dave Rubin style nonsense, right?
Yeah,
Hitler was a goddamn commie.
I mean, and he had to take American Johnson out of context. He had to take a 15-second clip out of a 4-part series. The video itself that it came from was like 15 minutes. You know, so I don't know the math, but you know, it's like 15 seconds out of a 15, 20-minute long video of a 4-part series. He had to take that one little snippet out to say that, hey, look, this guy supports re-education when American was explicitly talking about literal...
LSP is an absolute master of just like cutting up people's clips and presenting them in ways that don't actually make any sense once they've been abstracted from the original footage they were in. He did the same thing with me, where he like clipped out some weird audio where he's like cut me off like before I could actually give a response to something that someone else said, and then basically blamed me for not responding to that person. And then if you actually play back the original audio, I respond like literally 1.25 seconds after the person has said the thing that they said.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no.
And then it's like so I'm like, you know, why did you place your quotation in such a way that it doesn't actually include my response, and then accuse me of not responding, even though I literally responded? And there was never any explanation given as to why they didn't do that. And they can't say that it's because, you know, the amount of time on Twitter for putting a video clip is too short, because Twitter allows 2 minutes and 10 seconds. He used 51 seconds.
Oh yeah, no, and you know, that's the thing, is like, that's what, you know, that's what LSP likes to do, and that's what I think the route Jake's going to go down, because you can see the way Jake talks on Twitter and the way he talks on stream, where he really does not, they don't match up at all. You know, both Jake and Sarah don't seem to have reading comprehension on Twitter. I don't know why, but they
deliberate lack of reading comprehension.
Yeah, they will like literally hyper focus on one aspect, like one random aspect. Like I was, you know. And I don't know why they do that. Well, actually, I know why they do that. They do that.
It's called compensating for abuse they possibly took in the past by inflicting it on others without even self-acknowledgement of doing so.
Oh yeah, and that's another thing that Sarah did that I don't feel confident enough talking about, but maybe it's something that might be worth talking about at a future date.
I'll take all the heat for being the armchair psychiatrist.
Well,
Come at me.
because Sarah was using her own, her own experience with abuse to sort of say that I'm the victim. These other people who were hurt by our actions are the abusers. And I'm not a psychologist. I don't understand psychology. I think that what she was doing was wrong, but I can't tell you why it's wrong because that's not my area of expertise, obviously. And I'm not.
It's not that it's right or wrong. It's just that most people project, shit that has happened to them. It's normal. It's not evil or anything. It's just sad.
Yeah, but it was weird that she was doing that. Where they were the abusers.
Literally, that's all they do is verbally abuse people. And I'm telling you, as someone who feels confident enough to say I know what the fuck I'm talking about when it comes to brains and psychology and shit, and people and social behavior. Fucking, these people are literally just being the abusers they hate.
Yeah.
And they're attacking almost anyone who makes them feel that threat, which could be the slightest criticism. And we see this a lot with white people, especially in regards to when you criticize their racism. It's like an insult or a wound, an open wound, and they start weeping.
Yeah, that's what the vibe I got.
Yeah, so it's essentially the same idea. It's just they feel vulnerable, so they attack. Even if they're not being attacked, which isn't evil, like I said. I want to clarify, this isn't evil human behavior. This is pretty normal, common, expected behavior. And I don't condemn them for it. I just really didn't appreciate the dogpiling, the lack of concern and consideration for others. Like, they could have at any time stopped at any second and said, I'm sorry, I was a bit on edge because I really want to help trans people and I felt I did, and it just felt like people were saying I didn't when I did, or something like that.
You see, she actually said that on stream. But it's funny that she said that on stream.
They say that on Twitter. They just call me a stalker murderer.
Exactly. She said that on stream, but what's funny though is she said that in a 9-hour stream, I think around hour 4.5, so you had to wait till hour 4.5 for Sarah to say.
Christ, who would know that?
Exactly. Who's going to know to check hour 4.5 to see Sarah say, you know what? I tried my best, because he was responding to an H bomber guy thing in the chat. She basically said, maybe I could have done this better. Maybe the criticism is right, and it hurt me to see that my hard work didn't work out, which is legitimate. I will say that her expressing that was legitimate.
Sure,
but it's
sure,
odd.
Chris. But do you agree with the fact, or at least the idea, that if you publicly disrespect someone, that your apology ought to be public and acknowledged to your
without
target?
a doubt. That's why I'm saying that it's very odd that she does this, though. She does this expression, where she
doesn't want to feel guilt. She doesn't want to be guilty. She wants to feel safe in an environment where she feels she won't be judged, but rather praised.
But it's funny that it happens in hour 4.5, and they don't even bother to clip that and say, hey, they don't even bother to put on Twitter.
Hey, Hara, I'm sorry for calling you a murderer, stalker, armchair psychiatrist, and then got my followers to come in and, insinuate that you're mentally unstable and crazy because you asked for better evidence.
Look, this is one of those things where, at least you got it in 4 hours. It's been probably about a month and a couple of weeks now, and I still have not received an actual apology from any.
Oh yeah, no, I haven't received an apology either. I'm happy that the.
Yeah. No, I mean, I haven't received an apology from any of the people involved who literally streamed racial slurs that were directed toward me.
Oh yeah, no, you definitely got it worse. I only have a small sliver of what you experienced. What you experienced is way worse than what I did. But I know exactly what you mean, though. Just that little tiny thing where it's maybe we were wrong. They don't want to apologize at all. So yeah, I totally get what you're saying.
It was purely a tactical thing as well. Even in the case where they sort of
I don't know if I'd give them that much credit.
No, they pseudo-disciplined some people by saying, oh, you shouldn't say these things to Ray when you're in public and it's visible. And I'm just thinking, okay, so you would actually make those insults toward me if it were not being broadcast on a stream, then Jake and all the rest of them. I mean,
no, because remember what Jake said, if it's not public, it's not bad. You can't push out into the world but you can be racist as long as you're not pushed out into the world. Which I
Wow.
still can't
So
believe.
yeah, I mean,
I think
and
we've beaten this man-child dead with a stick.
Yeah, I mean, and this
Like
would
a
explain
horse.
why there has been no receipt of any apology from these guys. But we need to go on to the next topic, so we're gonna
Pretty
put the Boris
much.
Johnson thing up.
Next topic.
Bam. Okay, so we should now be talking about Boris Johnson in fresh trouble. So this one is really a case for Romeo because he was the one who actually brought this to my attention earlier this evening. So like, give us a bit of a preamble, and I'll eventually put the thing up on screen as well.
So a preamble would be that in October, the Intelligence and Security Committee of the House of Commons just wrote up a report on Russian interference into the 2017 general election, and part of that was looking into not just like Russian influence on like ballots, but usually like propaganda put up on Facebook and stuff like that. Now that actually, the report actually goes up to 2018. So one of the notable things that they've seen is that do I spoil it or no? Or
Yeah, I mean, feel free to like don't completely spoil it, but of course, yeah, give us
yeah,
give a summary.
the most revealing part of the Sunday Times report is that Boris during the tenure as foreign secretary, then foreign secretary, Boris Johnson met up with at least 3 different Russian oligarchs. One of them in, I think the city is Peguria in Italy, and now he actually met that same person again in 2019 once he became prime minister.
Yeah, so I'm going to see if I can just get this up on screen for you now as well, and I'll basically just read out what the tweets are from this Times journalist, which is basically in anticipation of
the uncle of a
that's going to
Russian
come out today.
oligarch, just to be more. Yeah.
No, it's no problem because I mean that's how they operate anyway. So yes, give me a second. I'll just get it up on screen. Right, so it's Tom Harper who's the one responsible for this, and then we'll go to screen share. And we'll actually do it properly this time. Right. So what you all should have on screen now is breaking. 9 Russian businessmen who gave money to the Conservative Party are named in secret intelligence reports on the threats posed to UK democracy, which was suppressed last week by Downing Street. See tomorrow's Sunday Times story with Cass J. Wheeler. So I'm just going to scroll down because this is obviously a tweet thread. You know how they roll. Oligarchs and other wealthy Tory donors were included in the report on illicit Russian activities in Britain by the Cross-Party Intelligence and Security Select Committee, whose publication was blocked last week by Number 10. See tomorrow's Sunday Times. Some Russian donors are personally close to the Prime Minister, including Alexander Temerko, who had close links to Kremlin's defense industry and who has spoken warmly of his, quote, friend Boris Johnson. He has donated over £1.2 million to the Tories over the past 7 years. MPs on the Intelligence Committee were also briefed on concerns regarding Alexander Lebedev, the former KGB spy who was allowed to buy the London Evening Standard newspaper. Alexander's son Evgeny, can I pronounce these names correctly? Evgeny
has
hosted Prime Minister Boris Johnson at his Italian estate near Perugia. When he was Foreign Secretary, Johnson travelled to the Lebedev's Italian estate in April 2018, apparently without the close protection police officers that normally accompany senior ministers of state. He was photographed by tourists at the local airport looking worse for wear. It is not known whether the Russian Tory donors are mentioned in the main ISC report or the classified annex. Britain's intelligence agencies are understood to be furious at the failure to publish, as all necessary steps to protect national security have been taken. See tomorrow's paper. Right, so I'm just going to switch back to normal.
An interesting thing to note is that usually, as I understand it, there's usually a 10-day window before once a committee has a report and when it's published. For some reason, Boris Johnson wants it to be published until after the election, which is like obviously longer than 10 days.
Wow. So I mean, it should be really interesting to see what comes of all of this, because something seems amiss here.
Yeah, and they want as little publicity about it before the election.
Also, we should speak about legality. Like, is all of this actually still within the law? Is it one of those things where basically it's a counterintelligence problem, but not a legal problem? Or do you anticipate it could actually be both counterintelligence and basically illegal?
Technically, technically it hasn't been published yet. So
I mean, we
think
don't
you
know.
could,
You're saying we
yeah,
don't know.
So we don't know. Yeah.
Okay. Well, when we see it, we'll be able to find out. But, I mean, these are interesting times we're living in. I mean, I never dreamed.
And also that the important thing is the chair of the select committee is Dominic Grieve. So so Boris Johnson might be like hedging that he loses his seat before the report is published.
Oh my
probably.
god. I mean, this is just how bad it has become. Like, I mean, literally. Yeah, that's
As
what
an
you probably think.
outsider looking in, I have one question about Boris.
Okay, go on.
Why does he look like Trump? Are there Trump clones? Can we make a conspiracy theory about Trump clones?
Look,
There's actually a conspiracy theory about why he looks crazy, and it's not even really a conspiracy theory because everyone knows it. He doesn't hide it very well, but he looks crazy, so that way he can hide all the evil, disgusting stuff that he does.
No, I
Okay,
mean,
so-
it actually works as well. It's a great act. It's crazy, and it's a great act because it has worked on a lot of people who are just like, oh, Boris Johnson is really a folksy guy who just makes bumbling mistakes. He's not a natural politician, but he gets things done. Blah 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 blah.
I think
Yeah,
we should
he gave
just
me
call him
tea
a
in Crumpet
clown.
on his front lawn.
He's really
You
going
know?
for the goofball aesthetic.
Exactly.
Yeah,
it's
let's
the
just do
goofball aesthetic. We should
clown.
call it
Let's
that from
try-
now on. Clown or
Let's-
goofball aesthetic.
Yes, no more crazy talk, or I'll go crazy and I'll show you all real crazy. I'll show you.
Yeah, because I mean, obviously,
real.
it wouldn't be appropriate. But yes, I think clown is a more accurate description. Where basically,
Yeah, I
I
agree.
love clown. It's my favorite insult
I
lately.
agree. But but
I
what about
even
the
asked-
actual clowns though, Kara?
Fuck
What
them.
about
My
the
mother
actual
is a
clowns who
clown. She
work?
doesn't give a shit. She doesn't give a shit. Listen, if
Oh.
a clown wants you to laugh, and you're laughing because of them, that's not a bad thing. Clowns are
Yeah.
literally there to entertain you and make you laugh. And hey, and if someone's a fucking clown, they're a clown. I even asked the mental health side of Twitter, what's a good insult that doesn't, put anybody under fire for any reason? And everyone's just like, clown. Clown is good.
Yeah, I agree. Clown's good. I also like ludicrous, not the rapper, the word, because it's just, I don't know. It's just structured in such a way where it's just ludicrous. You know?
Mm-hmm. Well, we've got the next one. I mean, since we're talking about people with blonde hair who happen to be implicated with Russian activity, so we just update the topic one more time. But there's still tons of topics left. Okay, so we finally have evidence of the crime that Trump already admitted to committing. So I actually don't have the source for this because, I mean, it's from literally last week. So yeah, whatever. But I'm not going to put the source on screen, but we've seen what happened with Sondland already. I'm sure that everyone here has seen that.
Yes.
Yeah, so I mean, tell me your impression of it, because I mean, to me, when I looked at that and I thought, right, so the exact thing which they have denied doing, they're now literally just doubling down on admitting to doing. And this is after the thing that Mulvaney already did, where he basically admitted to everything on camera, like if he's sort of covering for himself by saying, yeah, this stuff totally happened, but it happens all the time and we thought it was okay. That's where they're at now, right? I mean, obviously I'm kind of running over you here, but I'll let you respond. But it's one of those things where at the beginning of this whole saga, it was like everyone was just denying everything. Like Donald Trump and his associates have no connection. They kept saying over and over again. And then they kind of conceded that, okay, there is the connection, but it's not what you think. And now it's like, okay, it is a connection, but it's a good thing. And then it's now like, okay, there is totally loads of connections, but what are you going to do about it?
the Sondland thing is really interesting because it's literally the most damaging thing to like Trump's assertion that there was no quid pro quo.
Given that
And
one of his
this
guys
is
is
how
literally
it
saying it is a
intersects with
quid pro quo.
yeah, and this is how it intersects with the Groyper story because when this came out, like I was like refreshing pages, see how Ben Shapiro would like justify this, and instead it's been taking up with this Groyper war between the alt right and basically the alt right.
Yeah.
So instead of talking about trying to justify the song or like the Sondland, the Sondland testimony, it's literally been taken up with this internal fight.
Oh, right. Yes. No, it may in fact
so
have been
been
quite
completely
fortuitous for
memory
them
holed
then,
by
because it
them.
means that all of them are all of the people who are inside that party are memory holding it right now because they're dealing with the Nick
Yes.
Fuentes thing instead of actually addressing the fact that their leader has engaged in illegal activity.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, that this is how the two stories intersect.
Okay, no, that's well spotted. I mean, believe it or not, I hadn't actually thought of the idea that these two stories might have actually come into existence at the same time for a reason.
By
Because
God.
I was literally checking to see how the Trump cheerleaders would try to justify this, like people like Sebastian Gorka and co. And they just didn't.
They
It's been
just didn't even
taken up
address
by
it. Instead, they decided to go fight Nicholas Fuentes instead.
Exactly.
Ray, did somebody actually think of something you didn't?
I know. We've entered a twilight zone.
Oh my God!
So no, I mean, well observed. I mean, that was literally a distraction, and yeah.
Mic dropped, I guess.
Although that said,
pulled a Boris Johnson.
Although that said, Talking Points USA is pretty lame.
Yes.
True.
Wait,
True.
is that what the TP stands for?
Yes.
No, but
it does
turning
not stand
point.
for toilet paper. Although
What?
Although perhaps it ought to.
Wow, that was like a hardcore burn. Oh man.
I know. I'm just dealing them tonight.
You're like that GIF right now, and I'm like the guy going like, "Oh!" in the background, you know.
Yeah. Did you see the variation on that one where it's basically like that painting?
Oh God,
with
yes.
the thing? Oh, beautiful. I actually don't have it in front of me right now, but if I did, I would show it on screen.
I do. I'm pretty sure he saved it. Hold on, I'll get it for you. Keep talking.
Okay. Yeah, I should be able to display.
I said keep talking.
It's not copyrighted. There's no component of that meme that's copyrighted or anything, is there?
Memes aren't copyrighted. Are you kidding? The whole purpose of meme spreading is theft.
Okay. Just checking.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, what have we got?
I did not steal this meme. I discovered it.
Oh yeah, the next topic is how I came to love being libeled and downvoted by trolls. So let me just actually put that one up on the screen as well, because
that one's fucking good. I can't. Yeah,
it's really good. Well, it's literally only 1 point though. It's probably the fastest topic we'll cover today. Right, so that should be updating now. Again, people, tell me if there's any technical problems like the topic's not updating or something like this, because again, the reason why this actually had motion test on it when we first started the stream, and I explained that now. The reason we had motion tests at the beginning was because this stream was basically originally based on a test because of the fact that so much has changed that it may as well have been a test. It's just that it's kind of like matured into being episode 26 because it's been so remarkably successful in terms of like nothing going catastrophically wrong that I think we can continue to kind of do streams with this framework. Which is why this is basically episode 26 now.
I'm also partially responsible as the person who's supposed to be the tech here. I totally.
Yeah, but it's one of those things where consider it the curse, basically. So what's happening is you realize that obviously 26 is actually 13 times 2. So yeah, we've had some major problems getting episode 26 to actually happen. But I mean, we're in the middle of it now, and it's actually nothing stupid has happened so far. So. We're doing pretty well. I know. Do you know how many times it took to actually get episode 26 to work? You have no idea. Each time
I'm sorry.
None of them were your. Well, actually, one of them was your fault. But anyway, we go on. So, how we came to love being libeled and downvoted.
Death by cognitive dissonance has a question here.
Okay.
I think it's a good question.
I'll address the question before I address the topic then. So the question reads as follows: does the impeachment harm or help the DNC election campaigns? They feel like there's been a trade-off with the attention between impeachment proceedings and the elections. What are our thoughts? I kind of feel, I mean, other people on the panel may disagree, but I kind of feel like these two issues are completely intertwined and interlocked. Now, once upon a time when I put this talking point out, a lot of people disagreed with me because they said that, normal human beings would not see politics this way. But I mean, the way that I put it was something that Rachel Maddow had also said a long time ago, which is the issue of impeachment because of like inappropriate conduct regarding associations with Russia, Russian politicians, Russian oligarchs, and so on. These things are intricately linked and tied up with the economics of the everyday bread and butter that Americans experience. And I'll explain why, because it may not seem like these things are actually interconnected, because one of them looks like it's a counterintelligence and, it's sort of a legal emoluments clause type thing, whereas the other one seems like it's Medicare for all and things that are, bread and butter issues that normal Americans care about. The reason these things are interlocked is because the Republican Party understands at this point, and I'm saying these things forthrightly because perhaps in 2016 you had to like hang question marks at the ends of these statements, but now we're kind of like 3 years in, so I can say these things definitively. The Republican Party is at the point where they understand that they would never get elected ordinarily on the platform that they stand on because ordinary people don't like that platform. They frankly don't want to have, the kind of like economic deprivation which the Republican platform tends to have. So Republicans have realized that the only way they can ever get reelected is to collaborate with reactionaries in other countries in order to have weird influence operations going on so they can actually get into power in cases where they otherwise would not. In other words, because of the fact that they cannot get the support of the American people, the Republican Party has decided it's going to rely on Russian oligarchs for support. That's how these things are interconnected.
So I actually, it's funny that you say that, Ray, because I was actually talking to my dad today, and literally, he doesn't like the Republicans. He dislikes the Democrats also, but it was just weird that like
smart man.
well, no, not as smart as you think. Well, but basically, he
enlightened
really
centrist
supports he kind of bought into the like he doesn't like the Republicans at all, but he really just didn't. He's one. I don't know how to describe it, but basically he kind of is. I got a lot of vibes from like that you were describing him because like my dad does not want to vote the Democrats, but he's going to vote Republican, but he doesn't realize that he shouldn't vote Republican because of his hatred for the Democrats. But he also doesn't like the Republicans. It's very weird, if that makes sense.
It's one of those things where it must be social issues that are getting them at this point, where they've got like weird conspiracies and other kinds of like weird sub narratives. And what I mean by a sub narrative in this case is like it's not something straightforward like vote for this party because they do this particular thing which benefits you. Instead, it's like some kind of strange identity cult in which like they have some like weird perception where Democrats are people who drive Toyota Priuses and dress
that's
like
exactly
hipsters or
what
something.
it is.
And since they're not that kind of people, in order to signal that they're the cool kids who don't vote Democrat, then they have to vote for Republicans. Except this then becomes instantly stupid when you realize that the kind of people who vote for Republicans also have some weird stereotypes, behaviors that exist out there that could be described about them, and those are really also kind of bad. So it's one of those things where people aren't voting with their brains; they're voting with something else.
Yeah, they're voting with their feelings, which is not inherently bad, but in this case, when you're voting for the Republicans based on your feelings, it is bad. And I will say I was able to get my dad to reluctantly agree to not support Republicans, but he basically.
Goodness.
Oh yeah, no. It took a little bit of convincing. I basically say yes, Hillary is bad. Yes, Biden is bad. But them being bad doesn't invalidate the entire platform that they are supporting.
Speaking of the topic,
Fair.
though, which we had to address, which is how we came to love being libeled and downvoted by trolls, there was an
Yes.
interesting test that was done on YouTube and on Twitter to some extent, although Twitter obviously does not have a downvote. It just has like engagement or not engagement, but it's the same principle. On YouTube, apparently, if you publish a video and like a bunch of people come and brigade you and downvote the video, that video will actually perform better than if those same people upvoted it. This has been measured.
That
It's
would explain
hilarious.
why Miley
Oh yeah,
Stewart is
that's
still
how
relevant.
certain very disliked videos get on the trending page.
That's exactly right, because YouTube takes it as being, controversy, and so it pushes it up the ranks. Which is why whenever I see people, coming to try to brigade our videos by doing their usual requisite downvotes on every stream that we do, I don't complain about it. But the reason I don't complain about it is because, like, if they want to press
Thanks for the
downvote on the
free
stream,
clout.
exactly, if they want to press downvote on the stream, they're in some perverse way, in fact, helping us.
Yeah, well, that would explain why. Like I said, there's a YouTuber, a trans YouTuber, Miley Stewart. He was he's a person that created content, and reactionaries in like 2015, like they made a video about like how called like "Dear White People, Stop Being Transphobic," basically.
The Amazing Atheist.
Oh, yep, that was the most famous one. Basically, the Amazing Atheist decided to go onto this channel that had like only 1,000 subscribers and just shit on them. And literally to this day, you can go onto their channel and they have more downvotes than they do upvotes, and you can tell that it's solely from brigading. People are still brigading them because I watched a few of his videos. They're pretty harmless. They're nothing special. Some of them are okay. Some of them are kind of funny. But it's just videos. Not my cup of tea, but I'm sure there's an audience for them. But
no,
they
he's
get
a
a lot
piece
of
of shit
downvotes.
swine. I'm going to say this on behalf of everyone, because everyone who is like me is a hive mind. Okay, let me think then. How can I do this strategically? I've watched Amazing Atheist since like I was a child, since he first came on YouTube, all right? And I used to think he was cool. I used to think he was cool because I was an aspiring atheist at that time. And then let's just say he's done nothing for anyone.
Yeah, I could agree with that. But it's just
he's
amazing though that
he's one of those guys, and this is something that I always thought was quite funny, but he's one of those guys who was part of like that whole skeptic community thing that rose up, where they were like, yeah, you've got to be skeptical of ridiculous things that people have been saying for a long time. And it's obviously a reaction to the late 1990s culture that people grew up in, which was basically Christian fundamentalists getting away with constant nonsense on a day-to-day basis, right? So the skeptic community is basically that generation of people who then came up and said, okay, we're just gonna be skeptical of all of this stuff that they tried to like palm off on the average person, right? Which is good in itself,
Pretty
right?
much.
However,
it's like good gone rotten.
Yeah, exactly. However, these skeptics then decided that they could make more money being, like, I don't know, skeptical of Anita Sarkeesian or something than they could.
Oh, actually, it goes earlier than that. It's Elevator Gate. That's the first. It was Elevator Gate. Rebecca Watson had the audacity to say, "Hey, guys, I'm a woman. If you come into an elevator with me, don't try to hit on me."
Oh, right, okay.
How fucking dare she?
So it was actually feminism that they started with going against them, basically, like as early as that. So from that point onwards, they were trending down the wrong direction. And so this then reached the point where in 2016, like most of the sort of edgy skeptic community who are apparently against, who used to be against...
I wouldn't even call them skeptics because they just attack people and make a joke out of
trademark, like the trademark at the end of it, so it's ironic. But basically, most of these edgy skeptic community people, by the time 2016 rolled around, they were just like, what they had opposed before was the thing they were now supporting. So they were against evangelicals a long time ago because evangelicals talked a bunch of nonsense. And then they came full circle to the point where they were so radically skeptic of everything that they decided to inadvertently facilitate the evangelical Republicans' greatest candidate ever, who was Donald J. Trump, and let him get into office. So now everything is collapsing around them, and they're passing like all kinds of strange religious laws at like state level and all kinds of stuff. They ended up with Republicans basically taking everything in 2016. They took everything from the top of the government right the way down to the state house.
Oh yeah.
And where were edgy skeptics during that time? Edgy skeptics had not a single word to say on that phenomenon. because they were too busy looking at, I don't know, people with blue hair on social media.
Basically.
That's exactly right. And what they don't realize, what the skeptics didn't realize, is that while the president may not have a lot of domestic power, they do have this one really powerful domestic power that really is really OP, and it's called judicial appointments. And yeah, Trump has really put in some really unqualified judicial appointments, that some of which have been approved. And judicial appointments are arguably the most consequential domestic power the president has,
they're an absolute
because they're lifetime appointments.
And and some of these people are absolute clowns, absolute jokes, and they're going to be there for like a lifetime. Because these guys decided that, we just found it more important to like be, upset about blue-haired people instead of actually dealing with the thing that they claimed that they were radically skeptic of. I mean, it also provides a larger argument
for it.
Yeah, I mean, it also provides a larger argument as to how Patreon corrupts everything, but also an argument as to how liberal so-called centrists, they are very changeable. They will go to whoever offers them the most money. I mean, this seems to be a consistent pattern, whether it be Dave Rubin, the amazing atheist, any of these other super-duper skeptics.
Shoe on head. The fact that she's left now.
She only changed position when she realized that all the people that she was hanging out with were actually really as terrible as everyone had been informing her that they were all along.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't Shoe on Head like spawned from 4chan like many years ago and always talked disgusting shit?
Basically, her name is a 4chan meme. Her name is a 4chan meme. I don't understand the 4chan meme, but
the 4chan meme was about. I think it was about her and how she went on a video and did whatever people asked her to do.
She took her name from the 4chan meme.
Well, the meme itself is about some girl doing some kind of show for 4chan, and you'd think it'd get all sexual, but they were like, put a shoe on your head or something. She did.
That's surprisingly wholesome. That's very 4chan.
Yeah, it's not that bad of a meme, but it's like, she is like... Jesus Christ, she's beyond. I'm pretty sure I've seen her in 4chan like when I was fucking 14.
Yeah, no, she's awful. The fact is that she does not want to admit that she's friends with Lauren Southern, even though she admits that she's friends with Lauren Southern. Let that sink in. She's friends with her publicly and admits that she is. But then if you talk about her being friends with Lauren Southern, like she commented when Lauren Southern left social media, June, Shoe on Head, said, "Oh, you're going to be a great mother one day." And it was really showing how friendly they are together. And it should come as no surprise that June immediately deleted that tweet to Lauren Southern because, even though they're publicly friends, they can't be friends. So Shoe on Head is left, but she's not left, but she is left, if that makes sense.
She's not left. She just wants a new audience because all the right-wing audience is like hiding now. They're hiding.
Yeah,
you're not gonna get a lot of views from people who are like worried about being racist because they think they're right in being a racist, which is really kind of a little bit
even though
ironic.
Shoe on Head is racist because she did say that Leslie Jones looks like an ape.
Yeah,
not apologize to that, to my knowledge.
Pretty sure I've heard worse from her back in the good old days of B. But
but this was so public that like Leslie Jones actually said, "Hey, that's a really garbage thing to say," and she basically said, "I don't care."
Oh, so she was connected to Milo Yiannopoulos.
Oh God.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
All
but I'm not
things that people don't have to apologize for.
Apparently. Oh yeah, no, that's why she actually put a tweet out recently that basically says, "Oh, I'm sorry about what I did in 2015." Or she's criticizing people who are holding her accountable for stuff she did in 2015, but she doesn't actually apologize for the shit she did in 2015. She says, "Oh, I'm sorry that I had sins in 2015," and she doesn't actually want to fix any of it.
I also want to.
This is
make it clear
the entitlement level that exists as well in that sphere.
A real apology isn't just words either, because like even if you mean it, it can be misinterpreted. The only way to make an apology is to change behavior, and this woman has not changed her behavior.
No, she hasn't.
Ever.
All she's done is she might not be as overtly racist. Like she won't call black people apes anymore. She won't do that.
Oh, so she's learned to
Wow.
not incite bad clout. Ooh.
Yeah, or use
Yeah.
actual historical racist stereotypes that literally, like, I
Clever
remember, like,
little racist she is.
I mean, cause I literally remember having a high school textbook where they showed a phrenology. I think is that the word for it, like the really racist science that they did, like where they showed like the
Shit, I don't
different.
know. I just call them all Nazis, so it's
Yeah,
an
no. I
anti-Hitler.
had a textbook that actually had the balls to show like the graph of the different races, quote unquote. You know, the
Uh-huh.
really racist picture where they're trying
Oh
to talk about
God.
like scientific racism. So they actually showed that chart. So I actually had a textbook that showed me that. So
Okay, so I mean, we're about to the time for like another short
Yeah, so
break,
tell us more
which
about
we're doing.
trolls, Ray.
However, now that we're pivoting because we were just talking about privilege, I'll show you like something quite funny, and then we'll go to the break. Okay, so give me a second. Right, so the next topic is called "Buy a Trampoline and Jump at Home."
What?
Yeah,
that sounds fun.
we're totally gonna get to that. So first, I need to switch so we can do a screen share, and then we'll show the story, which is a very short story, but I'll give some explanation. It will become funnier as I explain it.
It better, or you know what? I'm quitting this show.
I know, right? So it should be displaying on screen now anyway. So, right, so you should be seeing the Hello Project news service here. So, quoting WOTA in translation, and of course, obviously, a WOTA is a person who goes to concerts to support J-pop stars, right? So, this is how you do. So, WOTA in translation is quoting a news article that actually was printed. Quote, a top WOTA told me that they're going to stop going to concerts because of the jumping ban. Now, of course, why was jumping banned? Jumping was banned recently at Hello Project concerts, and that the ban will come into effect in early 2020. And the reason for this
Why?
is because men would push themselves to the front of the crowd and would then jump up and down, obscuring the view of the mostly female audience behind them. And additionally, on top of that,
Oh
they
my
would
God.
sometimes jump and like collide with each other and then fall backwards, forwards, or to the side, or basically just become completely rowdy, right? So
So
injuries would
why don't
occur
they just
because
increase
obviously
security near the front of the stage instead of trying to ban an action that humans do when bopping to music?
well, no, you're allowed to bop, but you can't like this. When they say
Can
jumping, we're
I
not talking
jump
about.
up around? Or do I have to be emo now? I don't jump around when I go to shows? Is this
You
what
can
this
like
is about?
no, you can like bob up and down, but you can't literally jump
No, I
3 feet
know.
off the
I'm just
ground.
being a dick. I'm just being.
Okay, so basically, these guys are getting so upset now because it's like they're not allowed to have their jumping anymore. Some people are just like, well, yeah, we're not going to go anymore if you don't. Right. So of course, Hello News Service is kind of like the ultimate dunk response. If you're only coming to concerts to jump, buy a trampoline and jump at home. so, so I think they've been. I think everyone has been told, and obviously this is not a retort to WOTA in translation because WOTA in translation is simply quoting what a fan said. But
Mhm.
I'm sure the message has been communicated. I think it was
Probably
pretty
not.
funny.
This probably went over a few people's heads. Like,
No,
I
no, no, no,
ever.
no.
Because I.
I'm sure that a bunch of fans have probably seen these responses and have been like, "Yeah, you've been
Well,
told."
without the context, and you just telling me about the issue of jumping being banned, immediately I thought that was idiotic. Like,
No,
I
no,
was
no.
just
It
like,
was
that's
no, no, no.
stupid.
In the context, no, in the context of what's going on in Japan, like anyone who understands the jumping ban, they know exactly why the jumping ban was put into effect.
Okay, then
Like,
that's
there's
entirely different and
exactly.
reasonable. Like, as long as nobody's getting arrested for, like, jumping in place,
No, of course not. No
then
one
I
is. No,
absolutely can't argue with it.
yeah, basically, none of these people are unaware of why the jumping ban came into effect. Because many of the people who are complaining about this ban are responsible for why the ban came into effect. So, because they
You
are the
know,
ones
that's
who did the
usually
stuff.
the case. That's usually the case with most things.
So, yeah. It's one of those
Yeah,
cases
yeah.
where you just kind of like You just kind of look at the situation and you think to yourself, what the hell?
And cry, right? That's what
No.
everyone does, right? It's not just me. Oh,
No.
I cry sometimes.
oh, thank God.
Yeah, my wife sometimes says I cry too much, but
Oh, you
I
know
don't know.
what?
I disagree.
That's so mean. I'm gonna make your wife cry.
Trampoline and jump at home. I mean, that was a pretty great response.
Honestly, I prefer moon boots.
Moon boots?
Moon boots are lame. I prefer
You don't know
a pogo
about
stick.
moon shoes, Ray?
Help me. Explain for
my
the
God.
audience who may not be aware of these things.
Oh my God. Okay, so like, if you're Ray and you're from the same generation as me, but didn't play with toys and stayed inside and didn't interact with humans,
I totally
you
interacted
knew
with
about
humans.
these really cool '90s toys called moon shoes, which were basically like mini trampolines with straps on them. So every fucking kid wanted this toy, alright? So you got this fucking toy. I didn't get a pair, by the way. I'm still pissed off about it, so I stole my best friend's. Well, I didn't steal
I never
them.
got them.
I used them. They were, oh my God, Chris, they were better
I
than
used
fucking
them.
Heelys. They were better than Heelys. So
Is it better
I
than
got,
pogo stick.
I used Heelys
yes!
as well.
Oh my God. So you get in these shoes, and basically every step forces you to bounce like an idiot. So you're spending like an hour outside, just literally walking and bouncing like you're. I'm on the moon. It's like the best fucking toy. I can't believe you don't know about it.
Wow.
And you know what? I'm unfollowing you for that.
Okay.
I want you. No, before you go to break, right now, I need you to Google moon shoes. I want you to look at them and tell me that you wouldn't wear these.
Okay, let's look at this nonsense.
Let's do it. I need to
Moon-
see the moon shoes. People need to see them. The
moon
people need
shoes.
to know the
Let's
truth.
come up. This is absurd. Okay. I'm gonna have to actually put this on camera. These are absolutely absurd. I'm going to
How
use Google
dare
Images.
you?
I'm going to use Google Images to display them.
Please do.
Yeah, I think we can do that. Okay, so right, so we're over in screen share mode, and then I'm just going to say, show me the
money.
tab. Right, so you all should be now seeing these these things which are called moon shoes, and they look completely wild.
Would you wear them? If I bought you a pair and shipped them to you, would you wear them?
Only if you time traveled back in time. Like I can imagine, like the 12-year-old version of me would have
Wow,
found these
no
shoes to be
fun,
absolutely awesome.
police.
But yeah, now we're
No.
kind of just in no fun police mode,
Can adults
and
use them?
we can't be doing this
Yes.
anymore.
I beg
Really?
to
Can
differ.
adults
I'm
actually
going
use
to be wearing moon shoes every Antifa protest from now on, and the goddamn fascists will never be able to catch me because I'll be jumping so high. All right?
So basically, the idea is to escape from the far right by just bouncing repeatedly.
Yes.
Yeah, just like those guys in Samurai Jack. Those good guys. That one tribe that jumped good.
You know what else
There
was
was
a
a-
good fucking toy? That Skippy toy. You put it on one ankle, and you just
Skip
like
it?
made it go over. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, you just fucking made it spin and spin. You skipped with yourself because you're such a lonely child. Oh God. I think we need a
Isn't that
break.
how the song goes? Isn't that like
The song says you're a lonely child.
No, it tells you to skip. Like skip it or something like that. I don't know.
I don't know. God,
I don't
all I remember
remember.
is the Barney song from my youth.
Wow.
Oh, fun fact about Barney is if you
Yeah,
are...
he's a liar. If I love you, that doesn't necessarily mean you love me. All right?
No.
I'm
Actually, there's a
calling
story
Barney
of
out
a
right
guy
now.
that was actually disabled, and he was unable to communicate until Barney because
So
he was
he
put into
bought
like a
Moonshine.
residential community where they made him watch Barney, and that's what allowed him the willpower to, to basically tell them, hey, shut this stuff off.
Mm.
So
I'm not gonna lie. I had a very expensive toy when I was a kid, which was a fully automated Barney, and every toe and was a button, and he would say a million things and talk to you. All right, I was a hardcore Barney stan. So
was me
allow
and my
me to be
cousin.
mad
Well, my
at
cousin
him.
and I.
Allow me to hate Barney for lying to me.
Yeah, I know your pain. I was also Barney Stan, and my cousin was also Barney Stan. I don't know why we both were.
Honestly, TJ, best character. Come
Oh,
on.
fun fact about Barney is, did you know that one of the Steven Universe voice actors got their start on Barney?
This is getting nerdy and not political. We need a break. I need more, sustenance
Okay,
to
so
talk.
we'll just go to be right back, and we'll be back in about 3 to 5 minutes. See you all in a bit.
Love you guys.
Okay, is the audio working correctly now?
I don't know. Chris, can anyone else help me out here? I could also be having an issue that's like weird.
I can hear her.
It's working now. It must have been a weird issue. I refreshed. I'm gonna tell this guy. Continue. There was most likely nothing wrong. If you did, especially if
No,
you
but
didn't change anything.
I only changed something literally just now, so it could have been that I don't know when the audio stopped working.
People are saying it's working now.
Okay.
I'll have to investigate when it stopped working, but continue. Maybe do a quick catch up because we just got back from break anyway. So just like let people know.
Okay. Right, so I don't know what the issue was, but whatever it is, the issue seems to have gone away. I wish people would actually report issues like when they actually happen and not just be completely vague about what they're telling us is happening. But okay.
Calm down. Calm down.
No, it just kind of annoys me. So, at any rate, what were we saying? 4-day work week boosted productivity 40%. Like, I mean, I think we covered the story. I don't know how much of the conversation was actually interrupted due to the audio issue that we had, but
It might have been since break.
I also hope that that issue had not been replicated at some other time during the stream either. But again,
A few minutes, yeah.
People
Only
are
a
supposed to be
few
watching
minutes.
to make sure these things do not occur.
I'm trying, but my internet is McDonald's Wi-Fi tier, and I can't run it constantly, so I occasionally check it.
I thought Canadians pronounced it Wi-Fi. I thought only France was weird and called it Wi-Fi.
No, Canadians don't say Wi-Fi. I literally say that as a meme.
Okay, they're saying everything. They're saying everything since the break was inaudible. So that story is
that's
I'm not going back over it.
Well, can't we summarize it?
No,
Google's being awesome to Japanese
no, it was
workers.
Microsoft. I'm moving on.
Oh, Microsoft. Okay. Be grumpy. But I thought it was awesome. I thought they were accommodating their workers, and they noticed a huge boost, because obviously without audio, you still saw the screenshots. You could have read.
I guess, but again, people should have alerted us at the beginning that there was something happening.
Yes, that sucks, but we're fixing it now. So, you know, Japanese workers in Japan are getting more time off, getting paid more vacation time and stuff with pay, and the outcome is a huge boost of 40% in what, productivity?
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes. It is correct.
So now they're caught up, and we all basically agree that this is good. I haven't heard anyone object to it. I think anyone else would agree that, yes, if you give humans more leniency, they give you better work outcomes. And I also said myself, as an anarchist communist, I've always thought this and really like stand by it. Treat your workers better and they'll treat you good. And Chris also made a point that in one circumstance, the workers were willing to strike on behalf of their boss because they were treated so well by their boss against the workers' union, which was
Well, they didn't even have they didn't even actually have a union. A union came in to offer to unionize them, and they said, "Nah, we good."
Yeah, so that's badass, and I think that's another little bit of like a hint that this could work like anywhere for anyone, for workers and bosses alike. So I don't know. And another thing we didn't touch yet was my criticism right now on the Japanese ban on women wearing glasses, and I linked it to you from BBC News, which would be my source. I hope that's decent enough. There's other sources I could get, but I figured...
Yes, it is. I'm seeing it. So yes, obviously bosses need to stop trying to aggressively control their employees because it's not very good. And
yeah,
it needs to be addressed because people seem to think that the female body is a terrain on which they can inscribe their particular aesthetic feelings on any given day.
Yeah.
And they need to stop.
Specifically for women working as what are they called? Flight attendants? You know, the ones who serve you shit. Their policy is that these women cannot wear glasses because it hides their makeup.
Oh.
And they have to also wear makeup. If they don't wear makeup, they could be fired. Like, it's ridiculous standards on women in Japan right now in terms of, you know, business and shit. It's sad, but I am very happy to hear Microsoft is at least doing something good.
Yes. But anyway, we've changed to the other topic now, which is IPCC special reports on oceans and cryosphere. So I'm just going to switch over now and we'll see if we can go down this, because it's another example of basically like, selfish behavior of people who don't want to actually deal with climate change and the kind of crisis scenarios that people are being placed into now as a result of that. So hold on one second. Right. So I should be able to do a screen share on that as soon as I actually get it up in front of me. There we go. So it's ORF that I'm going to be doing a quotation from on this. So I'm going to try to go through this quickly because it's not a very complicated issue in the first place. Right. So IPCC special report on oceans and cryosphere and a changing climate, key takeaways for Hindu Kush Himalayan region. Right. So the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change recently released a special report on the ocean and cryosphere being places that are icy, obviously, in a changing climate. This report assessed the latest scientific knowledge about the physical science basis and the impacts of climate change on ocean, coastal, polar, and mountain ecosystems, and the human communities that depend on them. It also evaluated their vulnerabilities and adaptation capacity and determined that the ocean and cryosphere play a critical role in sustaining life. In particular, it shows that the ocean has taken up more than 90% of the heat generated by greenhouse gas emissions and is reducing warming on land. Ocean warming, together with ocean acidification, loss of oxygen, and changes in nutrient supplies, is affecting the distribution and abundance of marine life in coastal areas, including in the open ocean and the seafloor. Glaciers and ice sheets all around the world are losing mass at an increasing rate. Warmer ocean water causes several parts of the Antarctic ice sheet to lose mass. At the same time, Greenland is losing mass due to increased surface melting. Melting ice sheets and glaciers now contribute more to the global mean sea level rise than the expansion of warming ocean waters. This shows that climate change is rapidly changing these two systems, which has larger implications for humanity if remains unchecked. With this context in mind, the author says they will highlight takeaways for the Hindu Kush Himalayan region. So, scrolling down, because I don't want to have to go through all of this, basically water gaps are increasing, flood events will increase, rising temperatures are bad, people living far from oceans and glaciers will also be impacted, climate uncertainties will rise, women and poor people will be the most affected. Possible solutions is a strategy of adaptation and mitigation. It's unlikely that the process of climate change will be reversed because people are going to be people, so it's best to focus on adaptation. Serious policy changes and careful planning can create a climate resilient infrastructure. Right. So, I mean, do you all agree on this?
Yeah.
That
I have
basically
no
you're
arguments.
going to have to go for climate resilient infrastructure.
Yeah.
I mean,
Like
me.
not killing whales.
The only thing you're gonna beat me on in economy is if you were like anarchist primitive or something.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys know this, but whales actually are really good at reducing excess carbon, because they eat plankton, and when they eat plankton, that causes more plankton to come, and the plankton basically absorb carbon, and then in addition, after the whales eat the plankton, they also poop, and I forget how the poop works, but like the poop will actually also, so it's kind of like a twofer. You got the plankton and the whale poop that will actually reduce carbon.
It's like a twofer.
And then when whales die, they'll sink to the bottom of the ocean, ideally, and that will allow them to decay in a way that does not contribute, like excess carbon to the atmosphere.
Wow, you could almost title that like the greenest deuce.
Yes,
Okay.
pretty much. That's why we should stop hunting whales.
Yeah, Ray, stop hunting whales.
Well, I'm not in favor of hunting whales in the first place.
Good.
But basically, I mean, the situation is that, meanwhile all these edgy boys are basically rolling their eyes and not actually taking the climate science seriously. There are situations where obviously, whole disadvantaged communities will be affected by the result, which is unfortunate.
Yep.
Yeah, because there's actual things that we can do, like literally
right
like
now.
most countries don't depend on whaling for their infrastructure. It's like 3 countries or something like that. It's like Japan, and Norway and Finland maybe. There's like not many countries that need whaling, and so you could literally get rid of whaling.
What about marine land? What if I want to see an abused whale up close?
You know what? You know what's sad is even SeaWorld is realizing maybe we're the bad guys. It's like that.
Marine land got shut down. It's a Canadian thing, and they got shut down.
Yeah,
nobody loves marine land anymore.
I will say this: I approve of SeaWorld becoming a sea-themed amusement park. Because I reluctantly a few years ago had to go to SeaWorld San Diego, and they did have a pretty ballin' roller coaster.
You're a fool, and you're ignoring the carbon emissions from all of the amusement parks. Oh my god! But yeah, it's hard to argue with this, Ray, at all.
Yeah, no, it's basically we gotta go target the corporations because really. The communities aren't at fault, but somebody is going to blame the community.
I'm not about to blame people over straws, please.
Oh yeah, no, but that's what they're thinking. Rather than hold the companies accountable, we got to go find that one Indian village that might be burning coal.
No. We got to go to Alaska, okay? We got to find the Inuit indigenous peoples who literally live in a tundra where they cannot grow anything and survive
and be mad at them for eating
meat
seals.
and fat. Yeah, and then my favorite part is it's always quote unquote baby seals, when in fact it's usually not actually.
I'm not gonna lie, Hart. I got a confession about seals. I visited California once, okay, and I really had to fight the urge to not punch a seal. They were everywhere. They were everywhere.
Pamela Anderson would hate you right now. She would
I'm sorry. There were too many seals, and they smell. They smell really bad. They smell really. I don't know if you've ever actually smelled a seal. I don't know if
gross. I probably kind of know what it's like because I know what it's like when trolls come to me in sea lion. It's just as annoying.
But yeah, so I actually don't. I know vegans are gonna hate me. I know vegans would hate me though by saying that I would punch a seal.
I don't think Chris would actually punch a seal.
Yeah, no, I would never actually punch a seal. It's it's a joke.
Yeah, it's a frickin' joke, vegans. I'm sure the entire legion of vegans are watching right now.
Yeah, I'm sure there's one vegan somewhere on Vegan Watch or something like that, on Animal Abuse Watch or something like that.
We're probably safe to go to the next topic, Ray.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, you don't have to go all quiet.
Yeah, we could do the next topic. So, the next topic, let me think about which one we should go for. Still about Emmanuel Macron, because it's been a long time since we talked about our dear friend Macron. So, Emmanuel Macron warns Europe that NATO is becoming brain dead. Now, of course, no one should want that to happen. So, we're just going to go to the story, and we'll see where we end up. This is on The Economist. So, and then we just switch it over. Share. There we go. So we should be looking at this article that was published in The Economist. The future of the European Union. Emmanuel Macron warns Europe, NATO is becoming brain dead. America is turning its back on the European project. Time to wake up, the French president tells The Economist. And this is on November the 7th. So, Emmanuel Macron, the French president, has warned European countries that they can no longer rely on America to defend NATO allies. What we are currently experiencing is the brain death of NATO, Mr. Macron declares in a blunt interview with The Economist. Europe stands on the edge of a precipice, he says, and needs to start thinking of itself strategically as a geopolitical power, otherwise we will no longer be in control of our destiny. During the hour-long interview conducted in his gilt-decorated office at the Élysée Palace in Paris, on October the 21st, the president argues that it is high time for Europe to wake up. He was asked whether he believed in the effectiveness of Article 5, the idea that if one NATO member is attacked, all would come to its aid, which many analysts think underpins the alliance's deterrent effect. I don't know, he replies, but what will Article 5 mean tomorrow? NATO, Macron
What?
says, only works if the guarantor of last resort functions as such. I'd argue that we should reassess the reality of what NATO is in light of the commitment of the United States. And America, in his view, shows signs of turning its back on us, as it demonstrated starkly with its unexpected troop withdrawal from northeastern Syria last month, forsaking its Kurdish allies.
Oh
For
my
President Donald
god.
Trump, Europe is now dealing for the first time with an American president who, quote, does not share our idea of the European project, Mr. Macron says. This is happening when Europe is confronted by the rise of China and the authoritarian turn of regimes in Russia and Turkey. Moreover, Europe is being weakened from within by Brexit and political instability. This toxic mix
I
was
think I like
unthinkable
this
5
guy.
years ago, Mr. Macron argues. If we don't wake up, there is a considerable risk that in the long run we will disappear geopolitically, or at least we will no longer be in control of our destiny. I believe that very deeply. End quote. Mr. Macron's energetic recent diplomatic activity has drawn a great deal of interest abroad and almost as much criticism. He has been accused of acting unilaterally by blocking EU enlargement in Western Balkans and overreaching by trying to engineer direct talks between America and Iran. During the interview, however, the president is in a defiant but relaxed mood, sitting in shirt sleeves on the black leather sofa he has installed in the ornate Salon Doré where Charles de Gaulle used to work. The French president pushes back against his critics, for instance, arguing that it is, quote, absurd to open the EU to new members before reforming accession procedures, although he adds that he is ready to reconsider if such conditions are met. Mr. Macron's underlying message is that Europe needs to start thinking and acting not only as an economic grouping whose chief project is market expansion, but as a strategic power. That should start with regaining military sovereignty and reopening dialogue with Russia despite suspicion from Poland and other countries that were once under Soviet domination. Failing to do so, Macron says, would be a, quote, huge mistake.
What?
Not
What?
sure about that. I don't think anyone is sure about that. I don't know where you're getting that idea from. And then they ended the article there
That's
because, of course, why wouldn't you? So, yeah, it's pretty much a mixed bag. Like, obviously, he starts out right, but I'm just not sure about this thing about reopening dialogue
Yeah,
with
at
Russia.
first I was
What
like,
dialogue can you have with
damn.
them? All that's going to happen is that Macron is going to go to them and say, let's have dialogue. And then Russia's going to slap him in his face, and then they'll be back at square one again. So, I mean, if that's what
Question.
he's trying to do, I mean, if he's trying to just make himself appear reasonable so that he can be slapped and then prove that Russia is not reasonable, then, I mean, maybe that would be intelligent, but I don't know.
Isn't Macron like, he's French president, you said, right?
He is indeed.
Is he the same one that started up the French Yellow Jacket protest stuff?
Well,
He's
he's
the one
the
that
reason why they're
he's the
protesting
reason why
because
they're protesting, but he's trying to suppress them, of course.
So
Macron
why? I don't
is
think
like
we
a
should take
centrist.
him. I don't
So
think
hold on,
we
let me
should
just
take
flip
him
the switch
for
the screen back
anything he
first.
says, in my opinion. If you ask me, he's probably just bullshitting to some degree.
Well, Macron's a centrist, so you know he's bullshitting because he got elected because I forget what happened with the Socialist Party or whatever it's called. Like, what's the left-wing party in France called? I don't know what they're called. But the left-wing party in France was having some problems with their candidate, and Macron, his opponent, was Marine Le Pen. So he was kind of like a compromise candidate where it's like, we really cannot have Marine Le Pen. So that's how he got elected. She was
Awkward.
so bad. Yeah, she was so bad. So I don't think anyone really expected him to be good. I mean, some people, I guess, naively thought, oh, centrist, he must be good. But
Maybe, like... No,
yeah,
but literally, after Ray read that article, all I could think of was that meme that was like, well, some genocide is okay, and it's like,
well,
what?
Well, again, because he's a centrist. You know, he is a literal centrist, center-right, technically. So he's got some.
Okay, you can
some
be
capitalist
you
leaning.
can be. I've met centrists that actually can look at both sides and be like, that doesn't seem okay. most
but you see, the
centric.
thing is that it's all about making money for Macron because
Duh. So, like, is
he's for the
this
banking
even
sector.
political? Are politicians even political anymore? Or
Well,
is
like I said,
everything just like a market now? I feel
well,
like
like I said, the French left wing party had problems. I forget what happened with their candidate. I can't remember.
everybody
I know
has
some of.
problems. Fuck. You're not gonna
Well,
find a fucking sinless group from
well, no,
anyone.
It was like legit problems. It was like the legit kind of
I'm not
problems. But I
saying they
forget.
weren't problems or that they were. I'm saying it seems today in North America, at the very least, although I'm also criticizing Europe in this position, uh, that fucking, oh my god, no brain, don't do this, don't do this. Damn it, Chris, you made me lose
What?
my track of thinking.
That's all good. I know what you're
Oh,
saying.
politicians. They can't be trusted because in more instances than not, are they not funded?
Yeah, but the funding's not in my opinion,
Do they
the
not
worst
make
part.
money for their job?
Well, they
Do
do
they
get
not get
politicians.
more clout depending on the opinions they hold that are the most popular in society?
I mean,
Do they,
I don't think politicians are good inherently. I don't think
I
they're
just
inherently good.
I just like I have no idea anymore why people even stand any politician and then they're like, oh, like 10 years later when we find out someone's a pedophile, I'm like, I'm getting
Well, some
bored.
politicians are not bad. I think you're being a little too harsh on all politicians, but there are
I'm
plenty of bad
talking
ones.
rich elitist politicians.
Well, yeah, I know who you're talking about. You're talking about the Bloombergs and stuff. Though I will say one good thing about Bloomberg entering the race is he might help Bernie win. But you're talking about those kind of guys, I know.
Seems we just lost audio again. Ray, what are you doing? What are you
We have not
doing
lost audio. I can totally hear it.
right now? Oh, it might be a refresh issue then, Loco, because you can't hear
That
me.
can't
What
be
am I?
so, man.
Just relax.
I'll take a look.
But yeah,
But yeah.
not all politicians are bad. But you're
No,
right.
it's
A lot of rich
working.
elites.
It's working.
But
I'm
lots of rich
telling you,
elites.
it's sorry, Chris. I'm just trying to fix this tech issue because
I
I
agree.
almost got
That's more important
grounded.
than me. I get it.
It's an imaginary issue. I'm going to ignore it.
I literally just checked. Yeah. It's literally there's no audio issue. It's this guy. I don't think he's lying because it was happening to me as well. That's why I
No, it
interrupted.
was in fact happening earlier. It was in fact
It
happening earlier.
was in fact happening earlier, but I'm also having issues
Fine,
with
I'll
my
just toggle it
internet.
and we'll see.
No, 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 no.